Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Imperial Holonet. I am JID123, and today we are here for a very, very special episode. We are going to review The Last Jedi. Joining me today is Cole, Connor, Red Leader, Doc Holocron, and Deadpoolzilla, the Megapod. Woo! And might I just say, for you and me, Red, this is quite an achievement we have done. Our first,
Oh yeah.
our first official video was on The Last Jedi, and now look at us. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, I mean 6 people total, bigger than 2. So, well,
And I really want to go back and see our fucking predictions for the last Jedi before we even, because literally our prediction video, which was our first video, was done in I think either January or early February of 2016.
it was very much after Force Awakens and hardly knew anything. But yeah, so I'll just go first and give my general thoughts, and I'll pass it down to the rest of you guys. So my general thoughts on the table, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I can understand in some areas why it's divisive, and get into those in a minute. As far as my favorite moment, it's a cheap shot, I know, but I love it to death. Big spoilers: Luke and Leia reunite, and they play the music, Luke and Leia theme. I was like, that's what I wanted so badly from this trilogy, and they gave it to me, and I love it for that. And I can't help myself but love it. So that's my favorite thing. I'm gonna pass it down to Cole and then Connor afterwards. So Cole, you go next.
So I have to say this was quite a blast for me. I'm glad to finally see another Star Wars movie in the theaters. I'm going to go for a really easy thing for my favorite moment. Mark Hamill in this gives one of his best performances that I think I've ever seen him give.
Yeah.
It's a very layered and very, should I say, maybe controversial to some people, but I think a really, really bold and really good approach to his character that made it very interesting. And I can't wait to see where they go from here.
All right, Connor, your turn.
I guess when it comes to my thoughts, by the way, I'm sorry about my voice. I threw it out watching this movie. I kind of got to this point where I'm no longer excited for Star Wars, and 10-year-old me wants to hit me in the face for that. It's constantly, there's the constant exposure. There's never any downtime. It's every year, and the marketing machine works too well for me. I'm always aware of it, and I want Star Wars to feel special, and I feel like when I go to, I forget that when I go to the theaters, I still love to watch these movies. And seeing this movie in the theaters was a bizarre experience, because at first I wasn't enjoying myself. But as the film opened itself up, and as I continued to go, and as the movie became its own thing, my favorite character in all of fiction showed up, and 10-year-old me finally got back in the driver's seat, and I began to love this movie. I think when this movie is at its height, this is some of the best Star Wars ever put to screen. I think this is a great film. I also think it's got some problems here and there, mostly at the beginning. But I think that overall, this is a great...
Whoever's moving stuff around, please mute.
I think that...
Sorry, I'm holding the phone in one hand and everything's falling out of the freezer in the other.
That's okay.
Stay frosty, my friend.
We've all been there.
So when it comes to this movie, I think it's extraordinarily ambitious. I think it is sophisticated, and at the end, it is satisfying. I don't want to see episode 9 right now. I can wait, because this movie is more than enough to satisfy my appetite. I think that at the end of episode 7, I wanted to see episode 8 right away, but I think that right now I got these 2 movies that I am perfectly satisfied with as it is. So, yeah, I think that the best thing about this movie is Yoda and Luke's final lesson, and the way in which Rian Johnson understands the Force better than any other filmmaker who's ever worked on a Star Wars movie. I think that he is a remarkable filmmaker, and the backlash this movie has received is beyond stupid to me. I'm not a betting man, but I would have gotten rich off of this movie.
You would have gone to Canto Bite. Yeah.
Yes, I should have gone to Canto Bite. And I guess quick worst thing, I think some of the details, like some of the I'll describe this movie as a house. It is a big, beautiful house. I think some of the foundation sags under the weight, though. I think specifically Rose and Snoke could have been a little bit more fleshed out because they are in service of other people's characters. And while I think that Finn and Kylo Ren, respectively, had great character arcs, I think they could have been even a little bit better if I better knew Rose and Snoke on a personal level.
And
So
we'll get to
that's-
that. We'll get to that. Definitely. Okay, Deadpoolzilla, you're next.
Jesus fucking Christ, this movie was balls amazing. Like, like everything I thought was going to happen. Well, two things that I knew were going to happen happened, and we'll get into those. But everything else made me go, "Oh my god, that happened." And that's what I love. This movie is so different from any other Star Wars movies out there, and yet it still feels like a Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm going to agree with Connor. What Connor said is that the whole thing, because it's mostly people bitching about the Rey and Snoke theories now that they're all just dead. Like, that's the general consensus. I can't believe that this has a lower rating than Revenge of the Fallen right now.
On what?
On Rotten Tomatoes. Once again,
The
proving
Rotten
that
Tomato
that's
score? Or the
Yeah.
audience score?
Audience score.
the audience score.
That's ridiculous.
Can somebody
Yeah.
please get me off of this planet immediately?
Yes, thank you. I'm going right there with you, Connor.
What? But this is hysterical. This is a beautiful comedy.
It
Can't
has
make this shit up.
no.
Rotten
It
Tomatoes.
has a lower
You don't
score
know
than
what
Phantom
they're at.
Menace, and I love Phantom Menace.
Well, the other thing is, like, I will agree. There were some flaws in this movie, and we'll get to them. I will agree with Connor said about the whole thing with Rose and Snoke, is that, you know, they do kind of feel like just supports for other characters. And Jesus fucking Christ, not only was Mark Hamill good, Adam Driver knocked it out of the park in this film, I think.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And can we just say also, just to quote a certain skit that you probably know, yeah, Kylo Ren is indeed shredded. It's like a 16-pack down there.
I mean, I'll still take Batman's 9-pack, but yeah, Kylo Ren is shredded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the also, of course, Daisy Ridley, she was amazing. Everyone in here was great. And also, and we'll get to this character, Admiral freaking Holdo rules.
Salute
Yes.
to the Admiral. Salute.
Yeah.
Between this movie, Twin Peaks: The Return, and Wilson, it is certainly the year of Laura Dern in wigs.
One thing to
Just
do,
a
I guess.
joke. I watched
Her
your,
wigs are gonna get Oscars. Each one.
I watched
That's
your,
gonna be the nominees.
And people are going to wig out over it.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
We're just dying to use that.
As a funny little thing, Deadpoolzilla, I watched your review of the movie, and you were talking about Admiral Holdo and how you wanted a book and stuff. And I just wanted to say, you know, me and Red liked Admiral Holdo before it was cool.
And me.
Yeah, we
It
love
does.
that. Yeah, we talked about how she's like the best character previously. People didn't even know she existed, and we liked her.
Yeah, read Leia, Princess of Alderaan at your local bookstore by Claudia Gray.
Yeah, we'll get into that later, but
And going off that book, she was not at all what I expect her to be, but I love what they did with her. In that.
but she feels exactly like
We'll get
a
into
more
it, Red.
grown up version of that. Yeah, we'll get into that. It's awesome.
Let
I mean,
Deadpoolzilla
she's still
finish.
the same character, but the way they took her in this, I did not see coming at all, and it really works.
Yeah.
But 40 years later, yeah, it's great.
Oh, sorry, Deadpoolzilla, continue.
I was disappointed she never mentioned owls, though.
Okay, thanks, Doc.
Sorry.
Are you?
Yeah. But no, I think there's more stuff that we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm pretty much, my general thoughts are, what the fuck's wrong with the world? Thinking this is a bad movie. That's all I had to say. But just like, oh, one more thing. This is my third favorite movie of the year. If it were not for War of the Planet of the Apes and Logan, this had been my number one.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an addendum to that point, Deadpoolzilla, this has not just been a great year for films, this has been a great year for genre pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in a sea of Star Wars and in a sea of exceptional genre pictures, this movie still stands out to me. This feels
Yeah.
like a bona fide blockbuster event. So I am it felt big to me. I had the theater going experience with this movie that I wish I had with Dark Knight Rises. This movie does stand out. This is in my top 10 for sure. It's not in my top 5, but will watch it again. And I do love it though. It's really good.
Okay, Doc, your turn, and then we'll end with Red. So, Doc, you go first. You next.
So, basically, just to sum up my thoughts as of right now, this is probably my favorite Star Wars movie. Like, period.
Did you
And
say that after Rogue One came out?
Well, no, I didn't. I was caught between Rogue One and Force Awakens for my favorite Star Wars movie for a long time, but this movie suddenly became my new favorite. And who knows, maybe that'll change again with Episode 9, but time will tell.
Maybe it'll change with Han Solo.
No, seriously, good. You never know. But anyway, yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I was floored the entire time I was watching it. There were so many moments where I thought my jaw was going to fall off my face and tumble on the floor, and I'd have to pick it up and go wash it off in the bathroom, because like it just blew my fucking mind. Like I was so we can say swears, right?
We got Doc to say the F word.
Yeah, I was about to say this.
I
This is
know.
a big comment.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Like what the fuck? Like what the fuck, Doc? I said fuck 3 times, and now like
Yeah, motherfucker, aren't you even paying fucking attention to us?
yeah, I'm rolling away from your bullshit on a Segway going toodaloo, motherfucker.
Yeah, this is not a
Well,
friendly
flipping
channel.
him up.
It's not a family
Yeah.
channel.
Well, this would be great. Like, if this could be a drinking game, how many times? Take a shot every time I say fuck.
I'd be dead.
Oh, we'd be dead.
Yeah, like that's like having a drinking game with the Batman and Robin ice puns.
They have to reinstate prohibition just to save America.
Anyway, fucking continue.
I will. I fucking will. Thank you. Fucking thank you very fucking much. You fucking fuck. That's enough.
So cute.
This episode of the Imperial Holland is brought to you by Quentin Tarantino.
I'd be rich if that were true. That'd be rich.
Anyway, the big thing that I want to mention in terms of this movie is I've always liked Luke as a character, but he's never been one of my favorites personally. This movie made him one of my favorite characters. I loved how Luke was characterized in this and how he was written, and and we'll get into this, but the reveal of how he and Kylo's relationship kind of fell apart, like really took me by surprise, and like just really shocked me. But I think it totally works. And I've seen people like freaking out over it, like whether or not it was out of character for him to do that, but I don't think it is. I think it makes perfect sense for his character, and I think it takes him in a really interesting direction. And I absolutely loved the way that his character arc went, and Mark Hamill's performance was incredible. Yeah, I just absolutely loved what they did with him and Rey and Kylo and pretty much everyone. And I even, this might be controversial to the rest of the internet, but I don't know if it is with you guys, I actually really loved the Canto Bight subplot with Finn and Rose. I thought that stuff was really cool, and I liked how it tied in thematically with everything else, and I just really enjoyed the whole movie overall.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
Doc,
internet fist. bump
internet
you
hug?
because-
Internet hug?
Yeah. Internet hug. Let's give
Internet
it a group
hug.
internet hug. Yeah.
Because Canto Bight, I'm going to defend that. Don't worry. I'm going to tear everyone to shreds.
I liked it, so I'm not gonna say I hated it.
I have a whole defense about it.
Okay, but let Doc finish.
That was pretty much it.
Okay, Red, you're up.
All right, Red, let's do it.
Oh, man. Just this second act, I was so fucking worried. Because if you know me, you know how fucking much I hate Rilo. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and Grey
We were all
Jedi.
Those two.
Like, those are, like, I have destroyed friendships over that. And so, I've gotten people fucking kicked off of forums because of fights I started over that shit. And so, I know, I get intense. And so I've actually gotten, like, at least 2 different threads locked because of Grey Jedi fights.
Ooh.
Because I hate the Grey Jedi. I know. I'm a problem. But the fact that that Ryan Johnson just takes the idea of the Grey Jedi and just beats it like a bitch is just... I started to tear up when Luke says everything you said is wrong, And I was just like,
That's when he said that to
Just
Rey,
that
or when he
moment-
said that to Kylo?
when he said that to Kylo, and
Okay.
you get that fucking moment when he's just like, and I am not the last Jedi. And you cut to Rey moving the rocks. It just, as a Jedi fanboy, that's the best. It's the best.
I wanted to clap, but I didn't because I would feel awkward. Because
Oh, the theater clapped for that.
Oh, it
Yeah,
clapped
yeah,
in
yeah.
my theater clapped so much during this movie.
Oh, yes.
And laughed.
There were
I-
cheers. I am evidence
Yes.
of that.
When
really-
Luke dies, there was cheering.
Oh, there was
That
crying.
sounds really dark.
Well, mine was all tears with Luke's death.
It was
Yeah.
a mix. It's
Yeah.
funny. That didn't make me. That almost got me in the theater. I started to when listening to that part of the soundtrack when I came home because it hit me again. But yeah, just like all the Jedi stuff in this, and
Mhm.
Ryan Johnson gets the Jedi
Oh, yeah.
so well, and I love him for it. And that's just my best thing is just he gets how the Jedi and the Force work, and like the fact that we get he just
That
explicitly
is how it
states
works.
exactly like I love how he does like almost specific things like little things he's slipping in there to kind of explain why people are idiots, and I love it. Like he has that small little moment when Luke's talking about the nature of the Force, and he's talking about how the Force is both life and death, and then he like switches to something that's obviously incorrect, which is the whole it's hubris Jedi thing, and or that that's not necessarily supposed to be the view of the film, but Ryan Johnson in that slips in an acknowledgement with the fact that Luke says light side, later referring to what he said earlier, and I love that because he's outright in a Star Wars film acknowledging that the dichotomy between light and dark is not life and death. Life and death are within the light side. The dark side is either just death and no life or prolonged life. It's a perversion. It's not a natural dichotomy. It's not yin and yang.
Yeah.
This ain't Kingdom
and
Hearts.
He gets that.
Oh
And the
god,
cave-
Joel.
And we'll get into that later with the cave scene, but that is like the perfect literal embodiment of what the dark side is.
Yeah.
And like the entire time, there's like 3 points in this film where I wanted to just straight up quote Matt Stover's Revenge of the Sith novelization, because I would not be shocked if Ryan Johnson read that, because there's a few points where they just kind of literalize stuff he's talking about in that. Because I still think that might be the best bit of Star Wars literature, but just. Oh man, I love this film, and I will defend the Finn and Rose plot. In fact, in my opinion, Finn is actually the weaker element in that plot, and Rose is more the main lead, and Finn kind of just exists to inherit that, I guess. Though he does get his own individual scenes, but I felt like she was actually the
I'll
driving
fight
force
you
there.
on that point, Red. I'll fight you on that point, but we can get.
I'm
to
still
that.
not sure about Finn's arc completely. Until the end. Once you get that moment when you realize what he's doing, then I'm like, okay, now that makes perfect sense. Because I love that it's like a reverse of Rogue One
Yeah.
in a way, where that's all about characters having to accept dying, and then Finn's whole arc is having to accept not dying. Like
Life.
he wants just the heroic out, and the whole Rose thing. And I knew people weren't going to buy that relationship. I did. Also, I betted on it, but I knew about that going in. We have our first on-screen interracial relationship in Star Wars, by the way.
Can I just say though, is it kind of racist that the fact that the black guy gets tasered?
Not really. He was trying to defect,
It's true. So,
which I like
he had a
that a
reason.
lot. That he's still trying to defect. But like I bought
Is
that
it-
relationship a lot, and I'm really glad about that.
I think that the Benicio del Toro character is maybe my favorite character in the whole movie. I love him.
Ooh, really?
I like that
Jen-
final Star Wars character with a speech impediment.
That's
Yes.
good.
Yeah, that was
More-
that was a really
I guess
cool
Yoda
choice.
maybe.
Nah,
does
no,
that-
just speaks backwards.
He has an earthbound speech impediment. That was a really neat character choice, and I wouldn't be surprised if Benicio del Toro came up with it.
Totally.
And I don't know if he's really supposed to be a straight up villain or if he's like kind of like a middle of the road
Well,
guy.
we'll get into the whole thing with what this film's talking about with grayness and everything, and the point they're trying to show there. But it's more of a
I don't think we've seen the
to quote Kreia from KOTOR 2, apathy is death.
Yes.
That's the point of that character.
Right.
Yeah.
and what Finn can't be.
Right.
Although I think we're
And
probably
what
going
Rose
to see him
teaches him.
again.
That's
Are you-
for sure.
Yeah. Red, are you done making your point? Or are you good?
I guess I'll just briefly say worst thing.
I mean, if you want to say the obvious one, go ahead.
Okay, well,
But what is
I just want to say really briefly with the Luke thing, I really like what they do with Luke here. This isn't my Luke. I really, but it's interesting what they're doing with him, and I buy it for what they're going for, and so I'm able to accept that because I have 30 years of Luke, or 30, not 30, well, I guess like 20 years of Luke Skywalker the way I prefer him, and he's that way in the Star Wars comics right now.
You have around 25 at least. If Bloodline
Yeah,
is
and like
any
right now
indicator.
we're getting that. And so that's really interesting. I want to see a lot of like like I don't even need to necessarily see the time between this because when we get the fucking explanation of why he is this way, that's just fantastic and heartbreaking.
Oh
Yeah.
Like, are you good, Red? 'Cause I got the next.
Well,
topic.
no, that is my one complaint though. Is I am sad that that's the only time we see the green. Hashtag ignite the green.
Yeah, poor
It
Steele.
should have been his blade at the end.
Yeah.
I know that Ryan was trying to tip his hat with the he was trying to do a Chekhov's gun. I get it. But just for me personally, the green represents Luke as a master and Luke becoming his own man and choosing not to go down the dark path. And so I feel like on some level I kind of like it because it's a once again pure light Luke using that saber. But at the same time, I feel thematically the green works best.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I can see where you're coming from, but I do like that we have a blue. And my defense is that Luke is still learning. He's, he might be a Jedi Master, but he's, there's always going to be room for learning, and you're, in a way, always an apprentice.
And, thematic-
Yeah, but I guess you could argue the green kind of represents that as well. Of he's because it's still him like learning his lesson. So maybe like getting the green is he's learned that lesson again. He's now on the path to becoming a master again. Because we're so seeing him as a force ghost after this,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
I
think
feel
both
like we have
lightsabers
to
are.
at this point. Just in terms of circumstances.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
And so I guess I'll start with this next topic. How does this movie feel to you as a follow-up to Force Awakens? Because, especially you, Red, because you said on Twitter that you actually enjoyed Force Awakens actually more after seeing Last Jedi when we were talking to Linkara on Twitter. I'd just like you to delve into that a little bit more, and then we talked about sort of the collaboration, or maybe lack thereof, between the two directors.
Yeah, because the thing is, I liked Force Awakens a lot getting out of the theater the first time. Like I take this back now, but like I was like, oh, this is my favorite Star Wars film. Well, this is like in my top 3. It's not anymore, but I really do love that movie. It is a fantastic movie, and I have a lot of fun with it. But it was hard to go back to it for a while, partly because of the original trilogy elitism, and it felt kind of like, even though I much prefer the original trilogy, it felt like an entire section of the fan base was kind of being pushed aside, which Rogue One fixed for me. But then the big thing for Force Awakens, and why I didn't go back to it as much, was this just sense of worry that if certain things don't happen, certain character arcs fall apart. Like if Rey is a Skywalker, I feel like her character in Force Awakens is not as interesting. She'd still be decent, but like my liking that character comes from Rey Random, and my interest in like Kylo is he has to be pure dark, and so it was kind of like anytime I went back to that movie, I would get worried about the potential of Last Jedi. I know it's not fair to that movie, but it would just kind of scare me. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to constantly go back to that because there were certain things that would fall apart depending on how they were handled in Last Jedi. And as someone who has been Rey Random since day one, literally the forums that I go on, we had 2,000 pages of the Rey parentage thread. And that's, I think, like 10 to 16 posts per page. Think about that. It was insane.
Oh, yeah.
And so getting my theory to be correct not only makes me feel really good, but I watched Force Awakens again, and like everything I thought about, because again, the tricky thing with that film was my read on Rey could be false depending on stuff we learned, and my read was correct, and going back to it knowing I was correct, literally like 2 hours after watching TLJ, I watched Force Awakens again, And I had just an amazing experience with that, catching on to stuff and how, like when Rey, like there's that moment where she says that her parentage is classified, or that she is classified. And like, that's like, clearly she is lying to herself. And even Maz like points that out. Like, people keep saying like, maybe she lied or something, or maybe that's like, no, she knew the whole time. Maz even says, they're not coming back. Rey's just been lying to herself this entire time. And that's why in Force Awakens I liked that character at first and got worried about the potential of Rey Skywalker, stuff like that. And so that character is so strong because of this, and because they do... Like, we'll get into that. I think that should be our first thing, is the Rey random thing.
I like
because
it.
I know people who seriously kept saying, if Rey isn't a Skywalker, this trilogy sucks and that character sucks. And when Kylo in the film voices literally fan complaints I've been told 1,000 times, which is you're not a part of this story. And that's why I love that character. Like, for me, Rey is interesting because she doesn't necessarily belong. Like, she's the piece that doesn't necessarily fit, and so she makes herself fit into the story with her own actions. Not because of the Skywalker blood, not because of the destiny, not because of the Chosen One, just because she does the right thing and wants to be better.
This movie's very people power.
And that's fantastic. Like, it's just fantastic that we finally got that. And it's pissing people off. People are getting all outraged at this film for that reason, and they're just being kind of assholes.
Yeah.
Rey is interesting because she isn't a Skywalker.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Connor. I want to say something first. This movie is very
go ahead.
This movie is very people power. I feel, in a sense that the good guys are, well, with the exception of Leia, obviously, pretty much nobodies. They don't have legacies. I mean, Poe has some legacy with the rebellion. If you didn't read the comics, then he's a nobody. And Kylo and Hux, well, Kylo more, because you don't know Hux's backstory unless you read the books, are like these bloodline dynasties. Hux is the son of Brendel, the great general of the Empire, with his evil stormtrooper program, and Kylo thinks he's the best because he's related to Darth Vader, the Chosen One, the great Sith Lord, and Luke, technically, and, these bigwig parents. And they're the bad guys, and Rey's just, you're nobody. Your parents were scum.
It's literally going back to like the original trilogy of it's the underdog fighting the elitists.
And it's really the underdog. Because the thing is, the hero's journey story and everything, like, knowing Campbell's political views and stuff, it's such like a white savior kind of thing. Yeah. And that's not intended with Luke, but because it's adapting Campbell, it's still there. And I love that's not really there here. It's not you're destined to save the day because it's your quest or whatever, and it's not that just showing up and being perfect. Rey has to earn that, and Rey has her own flaws, and like they fucking do the dark side thing. They bring up my whole point in Force Awakens of she looks like she's using the dark side, and they acknowledge it. Like, Rey's super interesting because of that. But yeah, like you said about the legacy thing, interesting how Phasma fits into that.
Oh yeah. She's part of a legacy too. Well,
she isn't though. She built herself. She's completely self-made.
The other thing is, I really hope that Rey I really want to know how Rey constructs her lightsaber in the next episode.
Yeah.
She makes it from rocks.
No, she makes it from sand.
No, she makes it from junk. She's from a junk planet.
That'd be great.
And she loves it.
Gotta go back to her roots.
Well, I keep saying, oh my god, if they do the light pike idea that I keep bringing up by having her attach the emitter from Luke's lightsaber to the end of her staff, I swear to God, I will cry.
That would be awesome.
I'm bringing.
But Connor was saying something about Rey 5 minutes ago.
Sorry, Connor.
Rey not being anybody, it's great. So there's you're talking about how, like, before this movie came out, there were fans saying, if this happens, then none of this is going to work. Then I'm going to hate it all. And I get fandom. I understand all this, but this is like the worst part of fandom taken to its furthest extreme of it's more of a sport than actual enjoyment
Yes.
of art. It's more of a sport than an actual enjoyment of art, because who cares? Like, you're not going to enjoy a story. You're going at that point. You're just going to get your opinions validated.
And and Joel and I talked about this too, Connor. To jump off of what you were saying, I think a lot of the backlash boils down to a lot of expectations and what people kind of were setting themselves up to want from the movie. And if they didn't get exactly that, then kind of like Red said, they're kind of doomed to hate it.
Yeah, no, that's precisely the problem. And also, like,
And that's why
you
they
would talk
failed.
about some kind of arbitrary theory. How in the hell did anybody think that Snoke was going to be somebody that he wasn't? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I understand theories of, oh, what if he's this person? What if he's this person? No. Before The Force Awakens even came out, there were theories as to the identity of Snoke. Why?
Yeah.
He's played by Andy Serkis. He's a CG character. Oh, he's old and he knows the Force. So what? Now, the thing is, with this movie, is it firmly understands the Force as it is an energy field that combines, that unites all living things. Everybody has the Force, but not everybody can use the Force. The Force is a religion centered around belief. Well, I mean, the Jedi's a religion, but like, the Force is something that you can tap into through belief. And that's something that I feel like George Lucas really lost sight of, i.e. midichlorians. But also there's this weird contradiction with fans that, midichlorians suck, but being Force sensitive is also a thing. No, like, that, I don't get that. Because the thing
Well,
is, the great thing about
the point with the midichlorians and Force sensitivity is still in line with that initial intent, and if everyone can use it, because you still can with it's kind of just like, okay, you have limited midichlorians. So the example like Paulo Hidalgo always gives is, if Han trained for like 20 years, he somewhat in moments of like enthusiasm somewhat taps into it when flying, but because his because he can't grab onto it that much, it would take him like 20 years of just training to lift up a noodle.
Okay, but what I'm saying though is, based on that original film and the original trilogy, honestly, like, the reason Han Solo can't use the Force is because he doesn't believe anything that isn't in front of him with his own that he can't see with his own two eyes. He needs to have a blaster at his side at all times, and if he just gave himself up, he could be a good Jedi. The reason the Force is great is because when you're a kid, you believe you can use the Force if you believe enough. That's the point. It's about it's an abstract concept. It's about belief, and that's what makes the Force great. And the thing is, this movie makes Rey in Force Awakens better because, on a character level, she's just the same as those orphans on Canto Bright. She's the same. She's the same. She is somebody who is all alone, and because she believes and she has hope and she's inspired, because of that, that is why they can use the Force. That's why she can use the Force. And that's what I think Rian Johnson clearly understands. And that's why I love his take on the Force. But also, going back to Snoke, though, I got sidetracked. Like, somebody in line asked me, so Connor, who do you think Snoke is? And I said, this is going to be crazy, but I think he's just some guy called Snoke. And you're never going to believe it, guys. He was probably just some guy called Snoke. And it was hilarious looking at the response online of like, no, guys, we can still save this. What if he jumped into Kylo Ren's body and he's Plagueis?
I almost thought that for a few seconds, that he was going to jump into Kylo Ren's body, but that's only because I heard like rumor of like possession in this film, which didn't happen.
Thing with
and then I also heard somebody saying, but what if we didn't see it after we last see him? He pulls himself together. I'm like, no, we came back to that setting for a reason. He is
Some super glue. Glues it back together.
Sorry, Deadpoolzilla, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to wait until Connor was done. I didn't want to interrupt.
For all intents and purposes, I'm done.
Well, to agree with him, I've been from day one like, Snoke's just Snoke. That's been my thing from day one, and I'm glad we didn't get a big reveal of like, oh, my student Sidious or anything like that. I was like, oh, thank God, he's just a character.
Although Sidious does get mentioned, but not by
I
him.
love that, by the way.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I will say, though, that I mean, I kind of did fall into the trap, but I wanted him to be Gallius Rex for a lot of reasons.
Can I backtrack for like 5 seconds to something Connor was saying?
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Because I have a bit. What I like about Rey though is it's not just she believes a lot, so she gets the Force. It's cool because she has all this. It goes back to that Force sensitivity thing of some people just have this natural strength, be it because of belief or be it because they midi-chlorians or whatever, or because they're destined. And I love the fact that they kind of have that hinting both in Force Awakens and this, that she intentionally blocked off from using that. Like, without really being conscious of it, she had, like, a mental block. Like, she's so stuck in the past and to her parents and stuff like that, that part of her is just almost stopping that from coming up. Like, she has that whole line of, like, there was something in me that was always sleeping and now it's awake and I'm scared. Like, I like the idea that anyone can use the Force, but I've also always loved the idea of, like, almost that, like, Jean Grey thing of, like, some people are born with just so much power that they don't know what to do with it.
And
that's always been a thing. That's always an idea I like in sci-fi stuff, is just someone with too much power naturally, even as a child, and it either turns them into a power-hungry monster, or, in Rey's case, she can only cope with it by preventing it. And I think that makes her really interesting as a character, because she's someone with so much inherent strength, and like Luke says, she feels the dark side and immediately goes to it because she has no training and has no discipline. Like, she just ignored it, just blocked it off, didn't cope with it, and then that raw strength just comes out. And so it's not just giving her raw strength because she's the protagonist, like it was with, I guess it wasn't that way with Luke, and it wasn't that way with Anakin. Those were platform things. But, like, a lot of, like, with, I guess, Harry Potter or, like, other characters where it's like, this character, for some vague reason, is the strongest, and that's kind of just it to make them more badass. It's part of her character where she has too much strength from the get-go, and that makes her scary. It's not badass, it's terrifying for her more than anyone.
Yeah,
and I
like
love that, because showing someone who's so strong, that's their vulnerability. Her vulnerability is she's too strong, and that is scary.
Star Wars Episode 10, The Dark Side Saga. That's a rip.
Well, I didn't really think of that, Red, when you brought up the whole Jean Grey thing. It's a very close, like, it feels very much like Dark Phoenix in a way where, you have all this power and you're afraid the biggest enemy you're going to have to come over is yourself and your own ambitions.
And Connor, I keep telling you this, you need to read Yoda Dark Rendezvous, because it does so many interesting things with that, because you have a character who is my all-time favorite Star Wars character, Scout, because she has less Force potential, so the whole thing is she believes firmly in the Jedi, she's in the Temple and stuff like that, but she barely qualifies. And so because she can't as easily just, people like Rey could just naturally use the Force better, and it's kind of the thing where I'm okay with the idea of Force sensitives, because it still means there's a potential for people who are less Force sensitive to rise up, but it has to be through their own hard work. And I love that about Scout and why she's my favorite character, because she's surrounded, but she barely qualifies, and yet she gets to the top of her class and stuff like that by cheating, essentially. Like, in a fight, she grabs the opponent's training blade and burns the skin off of her hand to pull the person to the ground and beat them up. And Yoda actually likes that in her. And that's the best Yoda thing ever. And he actually is, like, approving of it because she's using that disadvantage and making the best of it. And that's the mark of a true Jedi, not just natural raw strength. And so she deals with that, that weakness. And so just because she doesn't have as much ability to use the Force in terms of overt power, mentally and spiritually, she's stronger in the Force than most other Jedi, even though she can't use it as readily. And I really like that Yoda Dark Rendezvous was so good.
To add to your point,
It doesn't fix Episode 2, but it kind of just kicks Episode 2 in the balls and is like, Sean Stewart's just like, okay, I'm gonna fix it.
Speaking of
really
blocking
good.
off, it's funny because
The one thing I just want to bitch about, there is one thing you have to get ready for. There's no chapter that's under 35 pages long in that novel.
Yeah.
It's really weirdly chapter cut. Really weirdly. You can talk, Joe.
Okay.
I just needed to bitch about that because it annoys me.
To combat your point about blocking off, Luke does block himself off from the Force. Rey says that. You block yourself off from the Force.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the reason why he doesn't know Han Solo's dead. Although, Nah,
He deleted the Force's number on his phone.
yeah, exactly.
He deleted Yoda's speed dial.
But and
Look, I just think we need some time apart, okay?
so that kind of adds to your point, Red, of him Ray blocking yourself off from the Force, only to now just have it come back.
And again, so much of this film is to quote Kreia, apathy is death.
Exactly. Let's see, what should we talk about next? Do you want to talk about Snoke, or do you think we should get on to Kylo next?
Yeah, you
I wanna
guys want
talk
to jump
about
between
the sort of bond
do
they have.
little bits of each plot,
Yeah.
so we don't just
We kind
stockpile
of
it.
have to do Snoke with Kylo because they're kind of intertwined with each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let's move on to one of the other plot threads then, because
Let's
let's
talk about
not
the
just.
Resistance
What
then.
about- What about Rey and Luke? Not Rey and Kylo's kind of Force connection.
Well, we were just saying we're moving on to the different subplot.
We'll get back to that later. Let's talk about the Resistance. This is we said this off camera, but this is why it's not like Empire Strikes Back, because this has to deal a lot with the war part of the Star Wars in a way Empire never did. And this was like part of the reason why I wanted to see this movie again, because they did so much stuff where it was like, oh no, are they gonna heroify Poe? Are they like, oh, this is gonna be like a rebel episode? And like, no, Poe's in the wrong throughout a good chunk of this film, and
We get a Star Wars film in which the character who goes against rank and breaks rank and does stupid shit, and this is exactly what Connor and I were talking about with Duke Thomas and why we hate him, is we have a character who thinks he knows better than all the superiors and doesn't, and fucks up and has to actually pay for it, and Leia slapping him and then shooting him later is the best thing ever.
I love it.
Now I want to see Duke get stunned.
And the funny thing is, even though I knew Poe was kind of in the wrong, I was also kind of rooting for him at the same time because he's Poe.
Yeah.
I don't know if whether or not Ryan Johnson intended to have that effect, like whether or not he intended for people.
Well, we only see it from clearly because we only see what's going on from Poe's perspective, and I like the fact that everyone in this film has kind of have an arc of, or some of them have arcs of, whoever's messing with Foil.
I think that's
that's
not me. That's the.
Well, what I like is so many of the people in this film, their arc is to try not to be apathetic or try not to get stuck in the gray areas of things. And what I like is only Rey and Poe have the reverse arc, where they have to learn to sometimes calm down. Like everyone has to, everyone else. Devil's Outlet, can you mute?
Sorry, I was I'm trying to do 10 things at once. Like I'm trying to clean something. I'm trying to do some chores late at night and talk to you guys.
That's fine. Just mute when you're not talking.
Actually, I'm almost done. Hang on.
Okay, cool.
I think I remember during the Rogue One commentary you were making food.
Oh yeah, didn't you make salsa that turned out really bad?
No, French fries. Turned out really good, but then I realized it's 11 o'clock and I shouldn't be eating French fries at night.
I'm eating worse at night.
I stayed up. I was awake until 12, or no, until 2 a.m. today because I had a doctor's appointment at 8 and I pulled an all-nighter because I needed new anxiety medicine and shit like that. But I had fucking Wendy's at 12 a.m. So don't.
Nice.
It's great.
Red, you're already fitting into the life of a college student. You're right there.
Oh man, the college I'm going to, there's a Burger King literally with it. Literally, I can see it from the campus. It's beautiful.
Oh.
I am gonna get so fat, but I can walk. But I'm walking, not enough, but I can pretend like I'm exercising.
Rub it in, Red. Rub it in. You can
So
walk.
at some point we're gonna
Oh,
see Red in a little hover around chair. I gotta get to Burger King.
I'm gonna be Jabba. Yes. Yes. But yeah, so,
Burger King.
to my intellectual point, I like the fact that Rey and Poe's arcs are the reverse of everyone else, where they care almost too much to the point of having to calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Like they're almost too gung ho and not too hopeful, but not thinking clearly because they want to do the big optimistic thing. And you could argue that's on some level Finn is fluctuating between too apathetic and too gung ho. And I like that everyone deals with the same core concept, but in different ways throughout.
Oh yeah, I love.
And so it's the same lesson, but people have to learn it from different extremes.
Oh,
And
definitely.
that's just
Yeah.
really well weaved.
I think
Thematically speaking, it's also tight, and I like the Shakespearean element of if everyone just listened to Laura Dern, everything would be fine. Everything goes
And that's
wrong.
just, can we just say, that should just be our rule in life?
Yeah,
Like, just
if
everyone
Laura
just listen
Dern
to Laura
says
Dern.
something-
Oh, yeah. I remember reading a critical of like one of those headlines, and it said something along the lines of "Lesson of Episode 8: The men just need to listen to the women." Like thinking about Poe, he doesn't listen to Leia and Laura Dern, and when the Resistance gets screwed over.
I mean, I guess in the Rey case, no one should listen to each other in that situation because they're both not emotionally in control.
I think,
No, I
I
like
think
that.
the point there is we can all learn from each other.
Exactly.
That's-
But
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do like that scene where Ray is trying to get Luke to come back, trying to shake Luke up, and is like, "Hey, remember Darth Vader? You thought there was good in him. You know, remember the good and the light, and that can be like Ben too." And that didn't happen. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that moment when she's just like, "Don't do this," like realizing, oh, he's evil. Which we'll get to that later. But to the Resistance point, so I was talking to Devilzilla about this earlier. Why do you guys think Holdo lies the entire time though about that?
I think Holdo's just
That is
weird.
a good.
Holdo's weird.
Because she doesn't want the others to worry.
Maybe she.
Well,
They're gonna worry because of that. I have an explanation, but I want to hear everyone's thoughts.
Our theory. Well,
Sorry.
We'll wait. We'll hear their theories.
I
Okay.
think because I think in terms of not telling Poe, I think I take it more as, you know, hey, you don't have to listen. I don't have to tell you anything, Poe. You're the soldier. I'm the commander. You do as you're told. Leia made me a vice admiral for a reason. You were made a commander, demoted for a reason. I think I should trust my authority and just do as
So-
you're told. And I know that sounds kind of, I know you should always question things, but in this case, hey, you screwed up. You don't get to talk. Leia,
He should also she should also realize Leia was the one that put her in this position, so that does have to carry some merit.
exactly.
Yeah, my read
Was that a
is-
pun?
my-
So guys,
my-
let Connor
Connor.
speak. Let Connor speak.
my read is that there's a thing of it's very clear to me that she doesn't tell everybody because there's very clear, like in that kind of situation, I would buy someone's like, there might be a mole, like there's a way that like maybe information could get relayed to the Empire or the First Order, and it's kind of funny that does end up happening. Poe unintentionally ends up leaking the information to the First Order and screws everyone over on accident. So again, everyone just listened to the authority, and then none of this would happen. And this is a good way of my thing is that this kind of conveys that the fleet is a microcosm for the universe. So the First Order wipes out the Republic and is now taking over. And you might be thinking, these like Muppet Baby Empire wannabes, this alt-right stand-in, how can they take over anything? General Huck's getting thrown against a wall the whole movie. What's up with that? But here's the thing, though. They're taking over because with the absence of the Republic, nobody's listening to each other. And because they're not listening to each other and everything is going bad, this is a prime opportunity for the First Order to take over and rule the galaxy. And in this case, on the fleet, General Leia is the Republic stand-in, and when she gets taken out, it causes a power vacuum, and that is why things start to break down. Maybe this is perhaps foreshadowing that because she comes back and everything ends up being fine, that the Republic will come back at the end of the trilogy. That's at least where I'm reading this going, but that's my thinking on this whole fleet and power struggle conflict.
Yeah, that was my thought as well on that. And the other thing I was thinking was, and I kind of wish this was mentioned outright because it's a cool idea, is Leia specifically not telling Poe or having Poe be impaired in terms of this, partly because he's so gung-ho, but also, just proved that, and I love that. The whole Leia not fully being able to, being super upset about casualties and in slapping Poe and stuff. I think their heroes, dead heroes line. But also, to the mole thing, that's the thing. I kind of wish that was mentioned if someone's just like, what if there's a mole? Because no one brings it up at any point, which is a little weird due to the hyperspace tracking. But the other thing is, you also can't be fully sure that someone isn't in Poe's head, even if he doesn't realize it, after Kylo torturing him and shit.
Like a Winter
Like, that
Soldier
could have
thing?
also been, like, kind of like a, we don't know exactly what happened to you when you got tortured. Like, not that they think he's maybe a mole, but...
Like, maybe Kylo, like...
Because we see that Kylo can see through people's eyes. Obviously, he didn't realize that until Snoke, but, like, you know, there'd just be kind of a worry of, what if you're not completely emotionally sound? Though at the same time, to Connor's read, that made me think of something more of, not only, if, on some level, it's if everyone just listened to Holdo, but on another level, if she was willing to trust at least Poe, no one would have been pissy. Like, on some level, it's, to quote Rogue One, trust goes both ways. And that both kind of make mistakes. Holdo less so, but it's kind of interesting that both groups kind of have trouble trusting each other, and that's why they nearly get doomed. And it's once they, it's Leia who, like Connor said, bridges that. Also, to Connor's point, thank you for reminding me, I love the fact that Poe refers to himself as Commander Poe Dameron of the Republic Navy.
That is good. That's a good
Because
callback.
now that because the Resistance is technically part of the Republic's military structure, it was just secret. And so I like the fact that because they just blew up the Republic, there's kind of a, they are both the Rebellion, the Resistance, and the Grand Army of the Republic in one. And I kind of like that it's all the different good guy groups and all the different good guy ideas in Star Wars merged into one being, and now with the Jedi as well. That's just really cool.
Yeah, Deplevilla, you were trying to say something? Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was waiting for Red to be done. I was just going to add on with what Red was saying, but my thing was that maybe Holdo was thinking that maybe instead of a mole, it was like a bug in the ship that she was concerned
God,
about.
it's Delta Source from the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, that was kind of the thing, and also I really dug Red's whole thing of that maybe Kylo really gave a Poe PTSD to the nth degree.
Yeah,
I just love Poe getting his whole squadron killed, or the whole bomber squad killed. Like, there's consequences for reckless actions.
Exactly. Cole, you've been quiet. How about you take us somewhere?
Oh boy, where to take us, I wonder. Let's talk a little bit about Luke. I feel that's a good place to talk about.
I think
I want to start this off by saying, can I just say, the cliffhanger we are left on with The Force Awakens, when he tosses that lightsaber, I busted a gut laughing.
Oh yeah,
that was.
And
Why
it was
am I
just as everyone laughed, I was like, that was like a sad moment for me. It's like seeing Luke completely defeated and angry.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
zooms in on the lightsaber on the ground, and Hello Darkness, My Old Friend starts playing.
The close up on the words. That's so great. Yeah, the thing about Luke here is, like Red said, it's definitely not the Luke you're used to, especially if you read a bunch of the post Jedi books.
Say your daddy's Luke.
Kind of, exactly. But at the same time, I think by the end, he becomes enough of my Luke to feel satisfied emotionally.
Him standing off against a fucking horde of ATM-6s and the Heavy Hauler is just the greatest fucking thing ever. And in that moment, I was worried it was gonna cut. Like, that was gonna be the end of the film.
I would.
And thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And Luke's funny in this, although that's Mark Hamill for you. That's the.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cole. Do you want
No, you keep going, Joel.
And Mark Hamill's just performance. I probably should have made this my best thing, but it is so nice to see Mark Hamill play this character again after just years of knowing him as the Joker, the Fire Lord, a bunch of cartoon characters. To just see him come back and play a serious role. I mean, all the roles were serious, but a serious good guy role. With his own, he's a little sillier and wackier here, but still good. Just really giving it his A game. And I think probably my favorite part of him is when he smacks Rey with his little leaf, which he's reaching out to the Force.
Oh, that was great.
Which is
It's the best part. The best part of that, it feels so much like a Yoda moment.
Oh, it is.
He's just a total troll.
Not only that, because I feel like, Red, you and I discussed when we were predicting stuff that, I would like to say, I kind of like to just see Luke give Rey good smacking for some reason. And I don't know, I didn't feel like they would do that because, Rey's a girl and, you don't want to send that kind of message. But nope. Luke smacked her, and that felt good. That felt
A
funny.
lot of people get
Although
smacked
she
in
didn't
this.
carry him on his back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
get smacked.
I would
I
say
want
that-
the gif of the post slap.
Post slap, baby, post slap.
Oh, po slap, baby, po slap. Yeah.
I would say like my two. Well, one of my favorite scenes is the Luke and Leia reunion, and we'll probably get to that. But I personally love when he is reunited with R2. Like it's just
Yeah.
it feels like
Oh,
it feels,
that's the of all the Leia moments, that's the one that hit me.
yeah, the Luke and
hardest
Leia.
was no. Of all, it was the R2.
Oh,
it was the "You're my only hope." And I love he's like, "That's a low blow." It's like, it is.
I will say, I liked how Johnson incorporated R2 and Chewie. They don't have a whole lot to do, but he gives them moments that you remember. The stuff with Chewie and the Porgs, you know what? It worked on me. Sue me, everybody. It was adorable.
Oh yeah. I like the moment with R2 and Luke. I just feel like when R2's going bleep bleep, I can just imagine him just swearing like, "Where were you? No good, dirty."
Well, Luke even says, "What's your language, R2?"
Oh, I love the fact that Luke, despite being all bitchy about the Jedi, is also still devout to them. So he's just like, "Hey, secret temple."
And I just like it's such an adorable moment, and it feels so much like classic Luke.
Oh yeah. Definitely. It's new. It's not your daddy's Luke, but there's still enough of the old Luke Skywalker you know and love to, feel emotionally satisfied. That's definitely what I would say. Cole, did you want to add anything to that?
There's one thing I want to add to the whole Luke thing. I love the final shot we get with Luke where he fades away in front of the twin suns and the parallels between that and A New Hope. That really got me.
Yeah.
I think that the Force Vision, by the way, I don't think Octu has actually twin sons. I like to think that we're just seeing the world from Luke's head, and he thinks that's
I think the point is like he's talking to Leia with the Force, and they're the twin sons.
Yeah.
Like this is twins. I thought that's what I took from that.
And I like how artful that shot was. Like it's within the cave, looking out of the cave at him as he fades away, and you see his shroud start to fly away in the breeze. Oh man, that was like something out of an art house picture. That was awesome.
Yeah, that really surprised me.
I cannot wait for Rian Johnson's trilogy.
Oh yeah.
So can I interject about this Luke thing? What I love is that Luke he's always the apprentice, and that even as he's grown old and he's cut himself off from the Force, you're right, he is devout. But I like that he's still looking at the Force as the sacred religion. And then Yoda comes along, and it's like Luke's like, "I'm going to do this big sacrilegious act," and you can see the turmoil within him. And then Yoda's like, "The hell do I? I'm going to burn it down myself." And
I love that Yoda just being so spiteful to him and just be. Yeah, I love that because.
The point I'm ultimately getting to is that Yoda's final lesson to him is it's not about the physical, it's about the abstract. And Luke kind of gets this when he's talking to Rey and training her. We get that Aronofsky style montage of like, the rebirth, the death, the life, the grow, and all that sort of stuff. Luke still sort of gets it, but he's still kind of distracted by the physical. No. I'm ascribing importance to the sacred text, but it's not the book that's important. It's the information, and you're ascribing too much importance to the physical. And this is brilliant that at the end, he's not physically there.
Simply put, the Jedi are more than texts.
Exactly, and I love that. It's like it's saying, the Jedi don't have to be Jedi temples, councils, these ranks and insignias. No, Jedi it's a value system, and like be a good person if you boil down to it. I mean, I know there's more nuance and stuff like that, but or just like be a good person.
I mean, they need those temples and followers and stuff to make change in the galaxy, but it's the core of that is still a belief system, and they can't lose that. But what I was saying with Yoda is, I love the fact that Yoda's teaching Luke that that he's never done learning, because that's a thing that works for Yoda as well. Is both of them, because you see that in the prequels to the original trilogy as well, is Yoda was never done learning. He was constantly still getting new lessons. He underestimated Luke as well. And that both of them keep, as a Jedi, you're never done learning. As a teacher, you're never done learning. And I really like the fact that they keep that consistent.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Yoda, I just wanted to ask how you guys felt because I've heard mixed feelings on this. How'd you guys feel about the puppet for Yoda?
Head's a little small.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
The
I thought
face is
it
a little too squinty, I think. It's a little.
He looked
I was
awesome. It was Puppet Yoda. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was Puppet Yoda. I'll take it. And like, I was kind of afraid when I saw the back of the head because
Gauze voicing him.
yeah. Plus, the other thing is that when because it didn't mentally register with me right away that it was a puppet.
Same.
I thought it was CGI, and I was like, oh, not
Oh,
again.
I knew it was a puppet.
the glow was a little weird.
Yeah. Did anybody
The
think
way
the
that
color
was-
was a little off?
A little darker green.
Just the weird thing is,
It was nighttime.
I think that here the way they do the color is like you can more so see the actual being. It's not as blue as it is in the original trilogy. I think
Yeah.
that's the
Might
point.
be it too. That could be.
But I really like it. Just the way it weirdly looks how the way that we draw that whenever we draw Force ghosts.
Yeah.
Strangely, like it looks a lot more like how like a comic book artist usually does that.
What
Yeah.
I also just like his personality. This is Empire Yoda. This is like page turners. They are not. Just this funny,
Well, that was
always jokey Yoda.
That was my thing I was going to say, Joel, is that I love the moment where he's like, oh, read them you did? And then he just whacks him in the head. And I'm like, it's a funny moment, but at the same time, it's such a Yoda moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love, like, even in death, he's like God. He's still God.
Yeah, I love how just childish he is at the same time, like giggling and again whapping him. Because I've always liked that Yoda's just childlike sense of wonder.
Mhm.
It's why my
Lost.
well, there's a lot of problems with prequel Yoda, but that's one thing I think prequel Yoda actually does get decently. It's that scene with the younglings.
Oh yeah, that was a good.
The wonderful of a mind of a child is. Say what about the prequels. That is a great scene, and the music there is just beautiful. Like that's always been my favorite Yoda scene in the prequel trilogy. It's so fucking good because that's such a Yoda moment, and that's why I love Dark Rendezvous, and that's because it's all about that. It's literally a novel that is just Yoda hanging out with a bunch of Padawans.
Yeah.
Yoda
And being a
is
mentor.
my favorite fictional character, and I never thought I would see new footage of Yoda, let alone Puppet Yoda, let alone like the moment in like a movie that would like turn me around on a movie. And I almost burst into tears. Like I was so happy to be alive. Like I
Sam,
could not
I came
tell
close
you.
there.
Oh yeah, I want to
I
go
was
back
so
and
happy.
rewatch that scene because
And yeah, I agree. That's the thing that turned me around because like that second act, I was having some reservations, and I didn't necessarily know how I felt about some of the stuff. I still hadn't gathered my thoughts, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, Ryan's back on track. He gets it.
this is definitely a movie you should probably see twice if you come out unsure. Because I've been seeing this a lot with people where they come in, they see it, and like I was watching Star Wars Underworld, and they were kind of like they saw it the first time, kind of not sure, and then they come back and see it again, and then like okay, and they saw it the third, and Ben saw it the third time, Ben Hart, and he
Of
like,
course,
okay,
Ben did.
yeah, and then he's like, okay, now I love it. Still got some problems, but I love it. So it's like this is definitely a movie you got to see again and again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it is pretty subversive next to Force Awakens. There's a lot of rhyming to Empire at the beginning. There's quite a bit of rhyming, but it never feels like remixing the way Force Awakens did. And then at some point in the middle, it becomes its own movie. And then when we go back to referencing classic Star Wars at the end, it feels more like, look how it's changed. Look how we're
Mhm.
referencing it,
Oh,
and the
definitely.
landscape
Yeah.
is completely
The
different. And
warfare
it almost
evolved.
felt like, yeah, and like, but we're witnessing the evolution throughout this movie. It's like this movie is like a mirror almost. And
Oh, yeah,
there's
like-
some point in the middle. In terms of like subversion, this ain't no Twin Peaks season 3, but I mean, if Ryan Johnson, I mean, no, I'm not, no disrespect to Ryan Johnson, but like, there's no way he would have known. Like, I say that Ryan Johnson whipped his junk out, but David Lynch went full frontal for Twin Peaks season 3.
Well, my thing is that Ryan Johnson whipped his dick out and beat Abrams with it.
Kind of.
Like,
Well-
That's wow.
Wow.
Okay. Which, by the way, this film got a one of the things was what was it? Partial nudity and sexual themes was part of the thin of the rating, and I was confused about that. And then is it the milking thing?
Oh
It
yeah.
might be.
Is that why that's there?
I hope so.
I thought it would be Kylo with that six-pack going on.
And that's
Oh,
true.
there's no way anyone is gonna put that against the film, though.
Yeah, but
I don't care how many
I-
Christian mothers groups there are. even they have to admit that was wonderful.
I always get
Yeah, like my thing with because dear God, like his head is so small compared to his body. Like you don't realize that till his shirt's off. Like I was thinking that
It was like Tom Hardy as Bane all over again.
I was like, oh my God, his nipples are like milk duds.
Dark Side.
Also now, damn it, Connor, damn it. You realize that I am now just boiling with Bane Kylo jokes because of you?
Why finish what you
Curse
started?
you!
My work is never done, but I'll be here all week.
That's actually the only reason Connor shows up for these is just to make me come up with stupid Bane jokes. That's why he's here.
Oh yeah. All right.
Nobody cared who I was till I put on the mask. That actually works.
Kind of.
Like a lot, thematically for him.
Okay. Deadpoolzilla, how about you take us somewhere? Take us.
Supreme leader is yours.
All right. How about we talk about Kylo Ren since we're kind of leaning towards that right now?
Yeah.
Oh man, Adam Driver, bravo, man. I mean, I liked you in Force Awakens, but you take your performance to a whole new level, and I do like the Rey Kylo scenes just because people are calling it like Force Skype, online dating.
Two things here. One thing. The scene where Kylo is shouting at the troops to blow the Millennium Falcon out of the sky, I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
No. My favorite call is when he shouts at all the what they called?
ATM-6s.
ATM-6s to fire at Luke, and you just keep going and going, and then Tucker's like, that's enough, and he's like,
I love that.
And I just felt like say, dude, chill.
Unfortunately, Hux didn't get a big epic speech in this movie, though.
Yeah.
The thing with Kylo is that he was one of the best parts in this film, and Red can agree with me, is that we weren't looking for a redemption, and that was one of the things in second act. I was like, oh, please don't go there, and the moment he looks at the throne and he's looking at it, I was like, oh, thank God.
I love the fact that everything they tell us is true. That was great, because we know from Snoke that he is conflicted, but also that he's completely dedicated to the dark side. And that's not contradictory, because it's absolutely correct. He was never contemplating turning back to the light. The conflict was, do I want to be rolled or do I want to roll?
That's also a big difference from Vader.
And I love that.
Vader, because, say what you will about the prequels, Vader fell to the dark side because of love. I mean, because
what's interesting about that, though, is the whole thing with Vader is, you even see it in episode 3 where he's talking about, my new empire and stuff like that, how he wants to kill Palpatine afterwards. After he becomes Vader, he just loses any ambition.
Right.
And Kylo is finishing what Vader started. When Anakin first became Vader, when Vader was first born, there was all this ambition that, as he says, raw power.
Oh, yeah.
It's like raw, untamed power. And that's exactly what it is. He's Anakin if Anakin
never
kept
got
that,
burned.
As Matt Stover said, again, I keep wanting to quote the Revenge of the Sith novelization. As Matt Stover said, his furnace heart, like this burning, fiery moment of just complete dark side power that he has. And what we get with Kylo after Force Awakens is he feels empty inside. And again, Stover talking about that with Vader, where when that dies down, like he says, you're less than you were before. You can never reach that. You can never attain that same strength. You're a painter gone blind, a composer gone deaf, and like all you have left is the misery and never being able to achieve that. And I love the fact that Kylo's going through that. Killing Snoke is reclaiming that fire.
I also love the scene with... Oh, sorry. You go first, Deadpoolzilla.
I was going to say that I love that moment where he's talking to him through the mask, and Snoke just has this moment of, take that stupid thing off.
Yeah. I said this on Twitter to you, Cole and Red. I was so glad that Cole and I watched Revenge of the Sith before Last Jedi, because that scene with Rey and Kylo, that is straight up from Revenge of the Sith. That is the you're breaking my heart moment without the dialogue part. And it, it's not romantic for definitely, but it's,
I hope to God not. Fuck Rilo.
And can I say, I love the whole forced Skype conversations between them. They add a huge part to the film and really lead up to the scene where they're trying to grab the lightsaber from each other.
Yeah.
And it also sets up the frickin' Luke thing, and I hate people who are like, it's not, that power comes out of nowhere. No, it isn't. It's there from the beginning. You just don't see it fully visualized, except then you do, because we get the scene where he sees Ben.
right.
So there's a thing that I want to talk about with Kylo Ren, and the Rey thing is brilliant editing, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way
I love
they
the sound design in that.
what I'm talking about is it's not just that. I'm talking also structural editing. The way the way you guys are thinking is right. Yeah, like the way they compose the shots to make it feel like they are in the same room talking with one another. It's like basic shot, reverse shot, but one is framed on the left side of the frame, and one is framed on the right side of the frame, and their eye levels are at the exact same point. Really good stuff there, but also Luke and Leia are having a mind meld conversation, and the way does that wipe from Empire. But then also, very next scene, they have a forced Skype moment, and I was thinking, oh, dear Lord, the way we're structuring this, is this all implying that they're siblings as well? Oh, God, no, please, no. And it tricked me out.
Yeah.
It was Snoke in this situation was Ryan Johnson, and he was tricking me, and God bless you, dude, because that was some brilliant editing choices right there.
The other thing... sorry.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
The fact that Snoke is the one who creates the mind connection, but is there an official term for that? Like,
Well, we'll just go with the Legends term of, was it Force Bond?
Yeah, Force Bond.
yeah, the way that Snoke creates a force bond between Rey and Kylo to trick them into bringing Rey to him, that really reminded me of Knights of the. Have you guys played Knights of the Old Republic?
We have, except for everyone except for Connor, I think.
Connor, is it okay if I spoil something for you from Knights of the Old Republic?
I don't give a shit. I don't play video games.
So in Knights of the Republic, there's a thing where the Jedi create a force bond between Revan and Bastila in order to manipulate Revan into working for them. And I don't know I think Ryan Johnson said that he did play Knights of the Republic when it came out. And I can't help but think if maybe that was an influence for how Snoke manipulates them in this.
Well,
Like, I don't know.
Potentially.
Inspiration.
I was going to bring that up too, is that it's so interesting because for a moment I was thinking, oh, please don't be a MacGuffin, please don't be Force MacGuffin, and then it was like, and then Snoke went, oh, it was me the whole time. I was testing my apprentice and checking you at the same time, So so thanks guys, and I was like, oh, thank God, and that just kind of shows how powerful Snoke is, and again, much like with the Emperor, is that he dies the same way the Palpatine does, in that he let his own arrogance get the best of him.
Yeah.
And
I've heard people really divided on the fact that Snoke gets killed in this movie. And
I still am. I still feel like Snoke,
I am too.
I still feel like Snoke in the first place might have been partly a mistake. Like, it's a tricky thing where you need, for the sake of Kylo's arc, naturally he needs to kill Snoke in that moment.
Yeah.
But like Connor said at the way beginning of this video, Snoke maybe needed more development himself. It's sad because I don't want anything else trimmed, but I feel like Snoke is kind of just a plot point.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
He has personality, but part of me feels a little empty about him. I don't need him to be someone from the EU or anything like that. I don't need him to be Plagueis. You can just say he's some dude from the unknown regions. He's a fucking used speeder salesman who gained who has force abilities, and I know I'm literally just giving him Cobra Commander's backstory, but like it's a complete is super powerful because of that. It's just that he doesn't feel like an entity in the film, except for when he's supposed to be directly affecting Kylo, and I'm not completely sure how I feel about that yet.
Can I say something, Joel?
Yeah, go ahead, Cole.
from what I've heard, there's some talk going around that there may be 30 minutes that was cut from this film, that there may have been a 3-hour cut. Do you think that, and from what I remember Joel and Red talking about, apparently Snoke had gotten his appearance from some time beforehand, so that would suggest there was something in this movie about Snoke. Do you think that some of that stuff was cut, maybe?
I can't.
I doubt it.
I don't think so. Because I can't think of anything. Well, it's funny. There are certain things, rumors that we heard going in that didn't come true. Like, you know that whole thing about the Knights of Ren?
Oh
fighting
yeah,
Luke
yeah,
on the
yeah.
island,
I remember that.
and Luke igniting the green. Either that's clearly false.
Yeah.
But there's also some other small stuff that I'm not sure if it's false or if it just got cut. I don't think much of this film got cut, though, especially because it's already pretty fucking long.
I have
Yeah.
the visual
That I
dictionary,
don't think they were told
and
that,
even the
and I
visual
don't.
dictionary barely goes into Snoke that much. They just say Snoke is a powerful is powerful in the dark side of the Force, but he is no Sith. The 1,000-year lineage stretching from Darth Bane to the Sith Lord Darth Vader was undone when Vader died, destroying his mentor, Sidious. The fulfillment of the ancient prophecy foretold the end of the Sith, but never predicted the end of the darkness. And they just say Snoke's the leader of the First Order, yada yada yada. They do say his obsidian ring comes from Mustafar, from Darth Vader's castle, but that's about it. That's about the only really interesting thing. And that his
It's like
aides are from the unknown regions, apparently.
so. Like, he could be this fascinating character, like the implication of him collecting dark side stuff, but he's just kind of here's this dark side wizard guy again, who's kind of basic. And I kind of accepted that with Palpatine, but because Palpatine got quite a bit to do in Revenge of the Sith, not Revenge of the Sith, wow, Return of the Jedi. I was going to go with Revenge of the Jedi, but I don't. He has to be there for Kylo's arc. That's the thing that keeps bugging me. Is it hurts Kylo if you keep him alive? He needs to die in that moment. But it also feels like he just exists to solely die, and I don't know who to blame for that.
It's hard to tell without Episode 9. It's one of those things we said this movie kind of depends on Episode 9 in some ways.
I wonder if Snoke's going to be a massive part of 9. Not necessarily alive, just talking about him and how he corrupted Ben.
Well, here's the weird thing. Yeah. The backstories of these characters do have lined up pretty well. Like, I don't feel like Rian Johnson took Episode 7 and went, well, frick, what the heck with you, JJ? I'm just doing my own thing. They seem to line up pretty well. It makes sense. So, and we did get the hint of the Knights of Ren in that flashback, where Luke says...
that confirmation.
So, it could be that, maybe it's like a Return of the King thing, where we're going to start off with a close-up of Andy Serkis's face with a worm in his hand. But, maybe there will be more flashbacks in 9.
None of it, or just people talking about it.
That too. Or Kylo just thinking about it.
With both movies, we got a certain insight into how Kylo Ren fell to the dark side. We got, obviously the big one here is the fact that, again, spoilers, Luke, for a brief moment, considered killing him because he might fall to the dark side and hurt the people he cares about. And, in Force Awakens, we learned that, he destroyed Luke's Jedi Order. So I don't know if we're going to go even deeper into his fall in 9 and see just how much Snoke really affected his mental state.
Yeah, it's kind of it's weird to have a character who you hype up as having talked to Palpatine and set up all this stuff and viewed from afar and is the reason Palpatine sent the First Order or sent the remnants of the Empire out into the unknown regions and all of this stuff and corrupted him and pushed Luke to Luke admits that he knew who Snoke was previously. Like he says, I could send Snoke, and Leia sent him to me to avoid Snoke, and like Leia talks about that. Like they know who Snoke is. In fact, even the Resistance troops do. What is their relationship to him? Who knows who he is? Why exactly? What is I don't need some grand epic backstory. It's just kind of
I'm kind of glad they didn't do an epic backstory because there was already a ton of story in this movie.
The problem is, then otherwise, I don't know if he should have ever been a part of this, even from Episode 7.
Yeah.
Well, I think Rian Johnson does have a plan for that, possibly.
Well,
I don't know
Ryan can't. Ryan can't have a plan for it. He doesn't plan anything for 9. That's all Abrams. Which, to be fair, is good, because that means that the guy who initially created the character is either stuck with a mess he didn't actually have a plan for, or can finally put in place his plan. That makes me a little bit more optimistic about Abrams for
the
9.
strange thing. Me too, Red. Oh, sorry, Connor.
I really want to talk about this because Ryan Johnson wrote a story treatment for episode 9 that Colin Trevorrow and Trevorrow's writing partner were writing a script for that Colin Trevorrow would direct. Carrie Fisher dies, Trevorrow's fired. They say they're going back to the drawing board, page 1 rewrite. Are they going for a page 1 rewrite on Johnson's story, or are they disregarding Johnson's story?
I think Johnson said that they weren't using any of his stuff. Like, that got completely scrapped and Abrams started from scratch.
Okay.
But we obviously won't know 100% until probably, like a year after.
It's even hard to tell how much Abrams influenced this movie, at least even unintentionally. So at some points as well. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't.
Heard that he and Ryan Johnson collaborated on the R2 scene.
That's it.
Well, that was just a thing he asked for. Which one thing that I'm interested about is we know that Trevorrow asked Ryan to do something specific in this film to set up 9. I want to know what that was now. What his plan was.
Right.
It was boards.
But to go back on Red's point, I actually did come out of episode 8 actually a little more optimistic that JJ's coming back. Because I feel like because of those plot points that were either Ryan made a mess of, I mean, I don't want to blame Ryan Johnson, obviously, I like everything he did most of the time, or just was always meant to be. Like, it makes you wonder if JJ directed 8, would he have killed off Snoke, or would we have gone full on, Jedi for episode 9, because I don't want to, I'm getting my head of myself, so I won't.
They obviously can't. Dude.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but, it feels like now JJ has to pick up his plot points from 7, which includes Snoke and the Knights of Ren. So that's definitely something. Deplezilla, I'm sorry, you were trying to say something earlier. Did you want to add anything about Snoke?
If I did, I've completely forgotten about it.
Alrighty. But
can I say one thing?
Sure. Cool.
Can we all agree that I think the next movie, the thing that we really center on, I think has to be Knights of Ren.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's talking about Snoke and who he is.
Well, that's the other thing is that you have because Ren doesn't really have anybody other than the Hux. So aside from because Phasma's gone, his master's gone.
Oh, we'll talk about Phasma.
Oh yeah, we'll get to her. All 10 minutes of her screen time.
To be fair, that was an amazing moment.
That is not 10 minutes. That is
I was being generous. But what I was saying is that he needs the Knights of Ren, and I think a cool way to go about them in episode 9 is like they're now like Kylo's hunting dogs. Like they're going out throughout the galaxy to hunt Rey.
It's it's like he has multiple Ventresses.
Yeah,
I was gonna say they're maybe like his Inquisitors.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with Ventress because I like the idea of them being partly trained apprentices.
Yeah,
so confirmation that the Knights of Ren are Jedi. That's cool, Connor.
So I didn't weigh much in on the whole Kylo Ren thing. I think Kylo Ren is one of the best villains that we've had this decade. I think Adam Driver's performance is exceptional, and I love this character so much. He's great.
I have a costume in my house.
He's my favorite thing about Force Awakens, easily.
Oh yeah.
I think that the way we handled the mask shattering is very intelligent because that was a very great plot point of episode 7, but I don't know how you milk that more than what it's worth after he's humiliated and embarrassed by Rey and Finn on a Starkiller base, because it's a great way of you can't hide behind someone else's legend. You can't hide behind a legend of Darth Vader and try to be another Darth Vader. You got to be your own person, and that's a really neat thing. The whole theme of what is a legend and all that sort of stuff is weaved so smartly throughout all of these subplots. It's the uniting factor. When we get to the end and Poe is like, "Hey, my name is Poe," and she's like, "Oh, I'm right." He's like, "Oh, I know," because she's becoming a legend now, and it's really great stuff. But I'm getting off the track. There's There's some stuff with Kylo Ren with the death of Snoke. I am perfectly fine with that. My thing with Snoke is that he's just kind of a jerk, and that's sort of like all he was. And even like though he gets a lot of dialogue, he just sort of seemed like a low red Palpatine to me. And I never got enough of his worldview. Like I get that he's abusive, and that's enough to drive Kylo Ren to kill him, but I want to know more of his worldview on the dark side, because we get that stuff with Luke.
Yeah.
And if Kylo Ren comes to the point of all old things need to die, he's just unhinged and that's the way he is. If that's where we are now, I feel like I needed more of an understanding of where he came from a philosophy point of view. That just he's an abusive a-hole. So that's my read on Snoke.
Good point, especially because we get some hinting in a few places with him and why he's fascinated with the fact that he comes from the light and the dark and is obsessed with that, and that he has an interesting take on the Force that's implied, but we get nothing, no actual.
I'm gonna be curious
there.
what the novelization of this movie does.
Connor's right, Connor's completely right that he really is just a jerk, and he is a low-eyed Palpatine, and that's the sad thing because he has charisma. And his smile is the most terrifying thing ever.
Yeah, he is Andy Serkis. It's impossible for him to not be charismatic.
Exactly. I was actually quite enjoying Snoke, this movie, just by the way he was acting.
It was great that I just realized I watched Age of Ultron again, literally the day before watching Last Jedi. It's really weird to see him in person for once, and then
Have you seen The Prestige?
No. I need to.
Okay, he plays. That's a Christopher Nolan film. He plays Nikola Tesla, who is played by David Bowie. He plays Nikola Tesla's assistant, and he's delightful in that movie.
Cool.
I will say though that with the death of Snoke, I like a duck. Are those your doggies?
Oh, hold on, I'm mute.
Oh, that's your doggies, Red. I do like with the death of Snoke, we move Kylo. We make officially Kylo the leader of the First Order, and now even more so the main antagonist. I mean, he's always been the main antagonist, but now it's sort of like there's no more Palpatine-like character. He is the Palpatine character. Not really, but he is your main force, and I like that because now he's the bad guy. Everyone's gonna be focusing on him even more so, and he's the interesting character. So it's like, yeah, let's make the interesting character the main antagonist.
And I think that though that I will sacrifice Snoke and maybe some of the missed opportunities with him, because what we gained with Kylo Ren's development outweighs anything that we might have done with Snoke.
Although Johnson,
I want to say one more thing, Doc. Sorry. When at the end where Hux and Kylo were talking after the death of Snoke, and then Hux wanted to become Supreme Leader, but clearly Kylo was choking him out quite literally. And he's like, the Supreme Leader is dead. Long live the Supreme Leader. The funniest moment in the theater happened for me when I was with my mom. My mom looked at me, and she just goes, Hux is like Speaker Paul Ryan. And I just burst out laughing. I just laughed. It's so true.
So can we take back the power and call him General Cux? That'd be nice.
I love Hux.
Of course, every conversation you have to go back to Cux.
I love General Hux in this movie, by the way. He's so hilarious. He's just, and I will say...
And no, Connor, that's your rank. You don't push that off on everyone else.
I will, and I love...
I will know my place.
Exactly. I love the scene between him and Poe, and then I forgot how the joke goes, but it ends with, about your mother. I forgot...
Oh, no, what was it? It was like, I'm here to call...
I have a message, and it's something about your mother.
And I love that because I love that because I know Hux's backstory.
Yeah, if you know his backstory, you know why that pisses him off.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, he was born of Brendel and just some he's like they Brendel himself refers to him as the bastard. Because Brendel knocked up what was she? Yeah, a maid or something at an Imperial facility.
That is the Academy.
The Academy.
Those sideburns do belong to bastards, though. I will say that.
Also, we get the word bastard used in a Star Wars film for the first time ever.
Also, ass.
Yeah, that was weird.
Also, flashbacks.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that earlier. Yeah, it's really interesting because we got the Force back in Force Awakens that was kind of similar to that. And then Rogue One Rogue One has a flashback, remember?
Rogue One is yeah.
Hey, are we forgetting the
Coruscant
great
flashback.
Padme flashbacks or flash forwards, kind of?
What?
Well,
Those don't count. Those don't count.
Well, like, I'm not talking. I'm talking proper Star Wars episodes.
Yeah,
not
I
Force
know what you mean.
Visions.
Yeah.
Not Force Visions.
And we kind of got it with Rogue One, but yeah, not. It was just the one shot of the Coruscant scene. But yeah, that was an interesting choice, and I did not expect to get that in a Star Wars film.
Before we move on,
I just realized, why is Ben sleeping in a shed, like a long way from the temple?
Because he's an edgelord.
What's up with
He likes
that?
to sleep alone. I don't need to sleep in a big fancy temple.
No, I think Luke just makes him sleep in the outhouse.
I would.
No wonder he
That's
turned
right.
to the dark side.
It's part of his training. It's part of his training.
You would have made Luke do that as well. It's just payback.
Yeah, no, I think we failed to mention this when we were talking about the fleet subplot, but the death of Laura Dern is maybe one of the most incredible visual
Yeah.
things we've gotten in
Yeah.
the Odyssey.
Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted to see what would happen with a hyperspace collision. Oh boy!
It's
got
so
it.
cool because and then I see online people like this causes plot holes for the universe. I'm like, what the
And the annoying thing is people are like, oh, why doesn't it happen more often? You don't want a comic, and like I get that we've seen other kamikazes in Star Wars. Hyperdrives take a while to boot up, for starters. Secondly, a ship could move, and you could end up accidentally flying off into nothingness and not get a heroic sacrifice. As we see in this, it splits into pieces. Like,
Yeah.
you could cause it collateral damage. It's also a big ship, and it doesn't do that much damage. It more just splits into spikes. Like,
It's
it
scrap-
makes
it
sense that you
turns
wouldn't.
it
It's a
turns
massive
itself-
risk.
It's a giant grenade, more or less, or shot
Yeah, that's a
direct.
good way of
It's
putting it.
shrapnel, really, and it makes total sense because it's completely unpredictable.
And I want to say that watching this in the theater, when the sound went out,
Oh,
everybody gasped. They're like, oh my gosh, whoa. And like the guy behind me just went, beautiful. Like the wide shot of Snoke's ship getting sliced in half. It was
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
my
Snoke
nipples
himself was
got
already
so
sliced.
hard.
Oh
My
yeah.
nipples
Yeah.
got hard. I got chills. I gasped. It was a great
Wait, what
moment.
got hard?
Oh, my nipples.
Oh, I thought something else. I thought you were talking about something else.
Also,
I
fun
was like,
fact
wow.
about Snoke's ship. I was telling Red this is that it's, from what I understand, it's loosely based off of a Nazi warplane design.
Yeah, the old stealth
Oh,
bombers.
yeah.
American
Yeah,
stealth bombers.
No, the Gothel. Yeah, well, actually, no, you're right, Joel. That the Gothel stealth bomber was what was the design that inspired the American stealth bombers.
Because we took all those Hydra scientists, you know? No, it's actually...
I love that people. I love. Can I just say this? It's totally off topic. I love it when people make fun of Winter Soldier for the Operation Paperclip thing,
No, I
and they're like,
real.
"That's so." No, oh my. Sentences have a natural conclusion.
Is it ready?
Like that. That's the point.
Yeah.
I love it when people make fun of that, and they're like, "It's so unrealistic. America wouldn't be that stupid." And I'm like, "You realize that's an actual historical event? Like, that's a thing? Our education system is shit. People don't jack shit about World War II.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and by the way,
Yeah,
the First Order only has one of these, so we're not seeing this supremacy again unless it gets a big...
we are though, because the supremacy's intact.
Oh, I thought it got... Oh, yeah, it didn't. It just got really damaged.
Remember, they have They have several conversations while still aboard.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The whole fight happens. Like, that's what's cool about it. The supremacy isn't totaled. It's
Oh,
fucked
good.
up. They're going to have to probably bring out an entire flotilla and slowly rebuild it. But that thing's still intact. In fact, it has, 2 giant factories inside of it?
Yep.
One of those is completely unharmed.
It's,
Like,
Yeah.
that thing's still operating. And I love the fact that we have a mobile command station. Thank you for that.
yeah, there is
I
no
also
throne room
want
for
to
the
say
First Order.
that
I'll tell
The
you what
last-
we'll be probably seeing again: dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
those
yeah.
were cool.
To
So
Connor's point.
the one thing I wanted to say about Kylo Ren, and the last thing I wanted to say about that was, uh, one of the best lightsaber fights in a Star Wars movie. The fight against the Tupperware guards was really awesome, and I thought that one thing that's really cool about this whole movie is that lightsabers never clash. I mean, there's in the Force Division, like in the flashbacks, but lightsabers never clash in this movie, and that's awesome. That is creative.
Oh, that's a really good point. Also, all of the Praetorian guards have specific weapons to themselves,
That was
and
so
they're
cool.
all unique and so fucking awesome. Like the
Yeah.
one with like the fucking spike like whip thing, and like the chain, and like the blades like break apart. Like, and all of them have slightly different helmets. Like, that's such a cool idea because the Imperial Guards do nothing in the original trilogy, nothing in Rogue One, and it's so cool. They're so like overly austere, and I love it. But they're actually functional.
Snoke
I
must
really
be like
like-
this. Oh, sorry, Connor.
Also,
I one thing I really like is like the visual metaphor of like the wall catching fire and it all burning down around them. Brilliant stuff. That's like something I'd see in a John Wick movie.
yeah.
Snoke must be like the best boss ever because they're fighting for him even after he's dead. You would think they'd go to Kylo, but I guess no. We want this guy.
The compensation must be off the
I
charts.
know. Healthcare benefits, dentistry.
Oh,
Rogue
can I
job,
say, I
Gregory.
love the fact that there's a fan in the middle of the room that one falls into. There's no railing. Why is that thing there? It's just because Snoke probably knew that there would be a fight there, and just for shits and giggles, he put it there. Just for shits and giggles.
Fights
One of
happen.
these
He
days,
seems
right?
like a troll.
One of these days, my apprentice is going to try to turn on me, and I really need the aesthetic of this fan falling. Trust
It'd
me,
be
it's gonna
so
look cool.
great if the reason he has Kylo wear a cape is because he wants him to get caught in that.
He-
But by the way, can I just say, I don't like Kylo's costume in this. I like him not having the mask, but I love the like shroud and like the material of the costume from Force Awakens so much. I get why it's changed. It's just Vader had a cape, now he's wearing a cape. I kind of liked the fact that Kylo had like almost like cultist robes. It's not necessarily a massive problem. It's just a visual thing of just his costume in Force Awakens is maybe my favorite costume in any Star Wars thing ever.
definitely become iconic.
Like, seriously,
No,
it is the best
that
thing.
that was a great costume, very iconic, really catches the eye. And this is less so. I wasn't thinking about it so much, but
Maybe
I
Disney
mean,
will bring it
I
back.
agree. Yeah,
Man, but now,
the robes are pretty great.
I'm curious if we
I
get
did
another
that.
costume change in the next one. You know, like
Well, he's going to be Supreme Leader. Maybe he'll have the gold robe.
exactly the rope, as we have established now. Bathrobes in Star Wars are fascist.
Mhm.
It's a symbol.
Yeah, well, he'd have to stitch it back together. That's the thing. Is that
I wasn't thinking that would be way too big for him, but now I want him to have it.
Hux is
you
like,
just feel like it's really comfortable, guys. I know it's a little long, but I make it work. You know.
He like barely keeps it up, and the whole thing just. It'd be great if like in episode 9 he has this whole massive fleet, and then like maybe his like big plan fails, and then as that happens, it all just falls. And he's sitting just on the bridge in front of everyone,
you know, I know this is jumping ahead, but if the first
and everyone like Huck starts giggling. He's like, "It's really cold on the bridge. Shut up."
I know this is a bit jumping ahead, but if the First Order is still around after Episode 9, but like Kylo's dead or something, but Hux is alive, I want Hux to be like the Starscream and just be like near the Supreme Leader's throne, and he just starts sitting on it like, yeah, this is comfy.
Can I say with what we're doing with Ben, I really hope he doesn't die in 9. Because I really like the idea of just because the thing is he's clearly a failure of a leader here, like he's just panicking.
Oh yeah.
But I think it'd be so interesting if over the course of like by the next trilogy, if that happens, he's evolved as a leader.
He's a true
Like
master.
you could do either he's an absolute failure and not meant to lead, or you could do an arc where he's still kind of a little shit, but he has to learn to adapt to that, and that's why they lose. But he learns from those lessons. Like either way, it's cool. But I had a Kylo. We keep going back to Kylo stuff. I had another Kylo note. I love the fact that in this movie he does what Luke was gonna do in Revenge of the Jedi. I love that.
Yeah.
This is just the ending of Revenge of the Jedi.
Oh right,
Minus
that one.
minus blowing up Padawan.
Oh right, he becomes the Emperor. He becomes the Supreme Leader. That's right.
Well, yeah, because for those who don't know, the original ending, one of the possible endings for Return of the Jedi was a fight above Hadabaddon, which would one day become Coruscant in Lucas's works. And what was supposed to happen was Luke would, and this was a big thing that Kurtz was pushing for,
No,
was that...
Kasdan. Kurtz wasn't involved by this by the time
Was
of
it
Jedi.
Kasdan? Oh, sorry, it was Kasdan, yeah. Wait, it was Kasdan. You're right. This is why he actually left, was he wanted Luke to, like, once he defeats Vader and Palpatine, to put on Vader's helmet and say, "Now I am Darth Vader," and take command of the Imperial fleet. And then there were two versions of that, one in which he kills the rebels, another where he, like, becomes the leader of the Empire, but, like, is attempting to be a benevolent one. And his first order is to have, because there were supposed to be several Death Stars, he was going to have them blow up Hadabaddon and, end the Empire, which is pretty fucked up when you think about it.
Yeah.
Casting
Like,
guy's
that is
wish, though.
And what's great is the only reason why Lucas didn't go with that was because he wanted to do Ewoks, and they didn't fit into the Hadabaddon version.
Yeah.
Wasn't the genocide, it was the fucking Ewoks. Orcs are
yeah.
better than Ewoks. Don't at me.
Watch SF the Brief documentary. That's all I can say. If you want a more straight story, but hey, casting guy's wish at the end, and they got to deal with an actual good character that would make it work. So yay.
So we're gonna move on to the big mistake in this film that we kept forgetting to bring up, that there is a definitive worst thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Phasma.
Yeah.
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 I like how she ties into Finn and Rose's arc, but yeah, I agree that I think the thing that I find weird is that they were talking a lot about how she would have more to do in this movie.
Yeah, that was really
No,
strange.
no. Phasma works. Damn it.
Huh?
Okay, Connor.
I guess when they say Phasma works, they mean in the novel and comic.
Those are great.
Okay. I don't read that stuff, but I'm like the racist robots from Transformers. I don't do much reading. But
the comic has Chichetto's art. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Well, I actually have a theory. Here's my theory, guys. I think Captain Phasma is like a clone conglomerate, a cyborg clone conglomerate. There's no way she also made it off of Starkiller Base in time. There's no way, and the way the Finn Phasma rivalry ends here. No, there's still more to be done here. I think that Phasma's going to come back in the third one, and it's going to be revealed that Phasma is like this it's like an assembly line product. It's like a linked mind, a hive mind of people who have archival and full knowledge of everything military that lead their own battalions. That's my whole thing.
Okay, so
well, because she gets
she
gets hit below the head, and sparks go flying. I'm like, oh, so she's a robot. And then there's a big scar over her eye where you see her eye. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then she gets shot at, and she gets reflected off. Something's up with her, and we're gonna see more of her in episode 9. I know it.
Well,
okay.
a couple
Well,
things
that's just Wei-Yoon from DS9.
Oh, Devilsville has some stuff to say.
It's amazing. Every word of that you said was wrong.
No, he was technically correct that she gets hit in the face and that you see her face.
Wait 2 years and suck my dick.
I'm not going to take that bet. No, what? Don't fall for it.
But yeah, one in the comic it's revealed. Yeah, she escaped for a Starkiller Base. The other thing is, the clone thing might be interesting, but the reflecting of the armor. That's because her armor was apparently built from Palpatine's ship.
Yeah, you know the yacht from episode 2 and 3?
Yeah.
The one that's on Tatooine. Palpatine had one of those, and Brendol Hux used it as well later. And what happened was he crashed on this Mad Max planet that had a nuclear fallout because of a factory that went down. And so the whole planet is like Mad Max, and they have all these tribes, and it's so fucking Mad Max. And he comes across Phasma, and she's from this planet Parnas, and she's this like cold-blooded, ruthless warrior that like literally she cut her brother's leg off so that this other tribe would accept them. Like she got her family and tribe killed, so the stronger tribe would adopt her and her brother out of pity. I'm not kidding. She's a sadist. And like and that's why she lowers the shields in Force Awakens, is because she doesn't give a fuck about the First Order. It's just about staying alive. That's all she cares about.
When, all the supplemental material notwithstanding, I think people put way too much stock in Captain Phasma because she was hyper marketed for Force Awakens because it was an unused costume for Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. She is she's the muscle from an Indiana Jones movie. She's just there as a metaphor for Finn's character arc, and she's an antagonist for Finn. And the reflective armor is representative of the reflection Finn sees in himself, it's great. It's great stuff. She is a very serviceable muscle that works as an antagonist for Finn, and we're going to see her in Episode 9. That is my bet. That is, without a doubt, my bet.
I love the idea of her as the Boba Fett of this trilogy that just keeps coming back. Like, that's hysterical.
You could bring her back, like, only this time, like, the more armor that's ripped off, it shows, like, more, like, she's cybernetic, because you don't, get off scot-free falling down a destroyed ship with fire everywhere. Like, you're gonna get fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I get why she's here, but the muscle in the Indiana Jones film still shows up before their climactic fight scene.
Not the big tough Nazi guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's it.
Yeah.
I guess the turban guy with the knife. Just.
Although, how screwed up would it have been if Phasma got killed by getting thrown into propeller blades?
That'd be great. She just gets cut in half by like a TIE fighter. That'd be amazing. But like, it's just like, don't say she's gonna have a larger role in this film, and then have her do pretty much nothing.
Yeah. Although I'm trying to,
I don't see how that makes it
maybe she could have been like part of a team that was like chasing Finn and Rose, maybe. But then
I just wanted her to be. I just wish she was on the bridge or something.
Yeah.
Because I forgot she was even a thing that existed, and when she shows up, I'm like, "Who is? Oh, you do it! I forgot you existed. I read a novel and comic about you, and I still forgot you are a thing."
They like
I think what we're
touch
trying to
more in
say,
this movie.
Connor, is that we're not saying she doesn't work. I just think we're saying we'd like to see more of her, just so we know that she's actually present in the movie. Because go ahead,
sorry.
Priscilla.
No, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Because like they've been saying, I forgot about her for a good hour and 20 minutes until she shows up, and I'm like,
totally forgot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Arthur, it's kind of like what your reserves you had with Snoke. That's the same thing with us.
But what I'm saying though is I think you guys are projecting too much of what's not in the film onto that. She's not that important to the story, and her showing up is more just like a tasty little morsel than like Snoke, like his whole position.
Yeah, Snoke's a bigger thing because he's actually important to the plot.
See, I agree with you, Connor. I think, and you're probably right. It's just, I think part of my frustration is just with the filmmaker saying, "Oh, she's going to be a bigger part," and I'm like, really?
Yeah, where it's not a problem with the film as much; it's just a problem from a franchise perspective.
That's gonna be one of those things where, like, in 30 years,
and
I
like
get the frustration.
we got, and it's like we got like, and the thing is, we got a novel and comic that came out in the same month, both with the Journey to the Last Jedi thing. Like in the context of them itself, but a lot of people don't consume Star Wars just through the context of the individual films, and so it's more of a frustration with the story group. Yeah. And so
and
this
I'm
is not
sympathetic
Pablo.
to that. I get that.
I heard.
So this is to Pablo. You made us feel slightly bad, but we still love you. Don't hate us.
Well, we know. Well,
because seriously, because I just want to say, when Holdo says Godspeed, people were like, "Wait, is that the first time that's in a Star Wars thing?" He literally posted this list of every single time in the films and Clone Wars and Rebels God and Hell get mentioned or deities.
Yeah.
And it's great. He just on Twitter 5 posts, just all these images, and he's like, funny, isn't it?
Oh, speaking of Holdo, one more Holdo
That was
thing.
passive aggressive.
One more Holdo thing before I forget. I think my favorite Holdo line is when she's talking to Leia, and Leia's like, "That's Poe. He's a bit of a hothead," and Holdo just goes, "I like him." That's such a Holdo moment for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love the fact
Yeah.
that we continue that theme of everyone still learning. Like
Mhm.
Holdo says that to Leia, that Leia taught her how to be this way.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing
I
is
really
that,
like that.
maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but it almost feels like Holdo and Leia had a thing, like how it reads emotionally. In
Oh, they don't in the novel she first appears in, but I don't know if you.
Now, like when she's talking about how, in fact, like she has that thing about how like Leia taught her how to be strong, and like you see that in that. In fact, it actually has to do specifically with Leia's boyfriend kind of betraying the rebellion, in that, and Holdo being present for that.
It's an interesting read. I'll just say
Well,
that.
if you ship them, their ship name could be Amalea.
Or Holdgana,
Oh, I like Holdo.
Ordo.
Oh, that's a good one too.
We're just gonna do ship names for the rest of this video.
Okay. Oh, we haven't talked about Canto Bight at all.
Yeah.
I just realized
And
that.
DJ.
That too.
Okay, yeah, so Rose is awesome. We
Right.
finally have fucking almost arguably 11 films before we actually get a woman of color lead in a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's a fucking problem.
Mhm.
But yeah, Rose was awesome.
Yeah.
Really like that character. I like how that's like a microcosm of the sometimes your heroes disappoint you thing. I bought the relationship. I know some people didn't. I bought it. Also, people owe me money. Well, we didn't actually take bets, but still, I bet on that. I just really like the character.
Yeah.
Like a good microcosm. It's a good microcosm of all the themes, really.
She's very much she's even more. She's very much like Finn in the first episode 7. It's a common man or a woman in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Canto Bight's cool. I like it. I have the book Canto Bight. Very fun book, by the way. It's pretty much the pulp. People calling it the Pulp Fiction of Star Wars books. So if you like pulp,
And I've seen people like bitch about her backstory. Like, we don't need that. That's pointless. I'm like, no, it does tie in thematically. Like, people
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that this is completely irrelevant. It isn't though, because
No,
the
not
whole
at all.
thing is about like DJ's whole, especially ties into DJ's whole point of, all right. Well, the larger thing of it looks beautiful and everything, but deep down it's fucked up, and the whole point of the more harsh truth of things and having to accept that, but that doesn't mean that morality is irrelevant. That doesn't mean that light is irrelevant. That just means it's all the more important that you don't be fooled by those kinds of situations. And that's Rose's entire point. It's the same thing as her saving Finn. Like, not just giving.
oh, you're cutting out, Red.
Thing. Oh, so am I better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
I
Just has a good thematic tie to everything.
oh yeah, this.
You could say she rose to the occasion.
But yeah, there's also a lot of. I don't want to define what kind of politics it is, but there's a lot of just stuff about like war profiteering and the downtrodden,
Mhm.
and we are the spark that will light the fire, that will bring the First Order down, or when Holdo said restore the Republic.
Yeah,
So-
the fact that he's echoing a line that Haldo previously said makes that line even better.
And Leia.
Mhm.
Well, Leia said it. I think Holdo said that Leia said it, and then Holdo said it, and then Poe said it. But yeah, I like that thematic very much. So,
Should we get to DJ?
it was cool. I don't
Yeah,
have-
DJ was
I really
DJ
liked
was really fun.
So DJ is. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
DJ is Finn in X amount of years if Finn continues down his path of being frightened and running. That is
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is why I love this character. I like how
and if he
Jaded
suddenly
Vincent,
became Benicio del Toro.
and I mean, if you become Benicio del Toro when you get old, then hey, good on you, man. If you're good enough to be in Sicario, you're good enough to be in anything, because his performance in Sicario is the best performance of 2015. I think that with that whole side thing, I was really impressed by um, Finn's journey in this, and I guess this will just be touching on Finn's journey. Watching Force Awakens again, I think that movie, it's definitely a J.J. Abrams movie in that it's really fast paced, and I think at the end of its first act, going into its second act, it gets too fast paced. You can basically just see J.J. Abrams like moving his arm, like, "Come on, guys, pick it up. We gotta get moving," like the whole time. And by the end of that movie, I don't believe that Finn would stay with the Resistance after getting pounded on, because, like, I believe that in that story he does stand up to Kylo Ren to protect Rey. I believe that, but after getting injured by him and waking up to find out that you're still getting pursued by the First Order and the Republic's dead, and you guys are like running on fumes, like, I believe that character does regress. That is a logical regression for that character to like want to desert. And then being and looking at the galaxy that he is deserting, the fight to, like, looking at this galaxy that needs fighting for, and, like, seeing that there is stuff that needs to be fought for, and, like, finding, like, and just looking at and going on this journey that does show him what he does need to fight for. And that was entirely believable, and I think DJ was a really good character to really linchpin this whole thing together with Finn. So I really like this whole subplot. Rose was my least favorite thing about this subplot. Not because I think she's a bad character. I have no read on her. She does seem to be a little bit of a fan insert character. I think that
I don't agree with that.
She's all about Finn and just, like, knows everything about him, even though he's really only been around for, like, a day.
Well, I mean, everyone was probably gossiping about that when he showed up.
I'm sure, but, like, she's, like, nerd girling out as if she's known about him, since 2015. But the thing is, like, quickly that sort of wears off. But I think that I don't get much of a character from her. I understand what I understand what she's saying, but she does seem more of a mouthpiece for the ideas, and it doesn't come from a character place. Is where I'm coming from with her. And I think at the end, though, where she's like, let's protect what we love, let's not fight what we hate. And I'm thinking, yeah, honey, but you have to fight the First Order eventually.
Yeah, though, of course, in her, I think the point there was more he was just kind of reckless about it. Like, it wasn't choosing to fight the First Order there. It was choosing to just kill himself to get it done with. Because like Poe said, if he had kept going, like Poe said, the beam would have just hit him before we even got close.
That's true, but if Finn died there, it would have. I think I still would have been satisfied.
Yeah, but I'm fine with a more optimistic take on that.
Plus, it gets me another one of my favorite scenes is just when Rey and Finn hug each other, like, oh, the BFFs are back together. I watched the whole movie with you two. You were the BFFs. Oh my god, I just loved it. I love that, just that friendship. It's like that, just, I just think it's so cute. I don't even ship it. I just like they're the best buds at this point. Well, apart from Finn and Poe, obviously. The best is
but Poe and BB-8. The moment when BB-8, when Poe was like, "Where's BB-8? Where's BB-8?" is the best.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a buddy ship right there. Actually, speaking of J.J. Abrams for a second, Connor, that brings me up to a good point. Cinematography of this movie is a beautiful. Cole, this is what I was talking about when we talked about the cinematography compared to The Force Awakens compared to this. Now, this is what movies were made for, like that.
And I retract what I said back on our watch of that. I completely agree. This is a lot more cinematic in a lot of aspects than The Force Awakens tends to be.
I don't know. I mean, this is amazingly shot. I wouldn't say that's to the detriment of Force Awakens, though. Force Awakens is still beautiful.
I just like the way this one shot more, especially like the wide shots. You get to see it all, and like that opening shot at the beginning of the film. Like, ooh, I'm glad I saw this on the big screen. Like, this is what movies were made for. Connor, you're more the cinematography technical side than I am. Would you like to add your thoughts?
I think I've been sprinkling them in throughout. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It does a lot with one frame and one takes, but it doesn't get too busy the way, like, I'm thinking of that part from Batman versus Superman where all the parademons fly down while Batman's fighting the Nazi Superman guys. Like, that whole thing, it starts off pretty cool from a cinematography level, and it gets just too dang busy with everything that's happening on screen. It felt like a comic book in a bad way, where if it was a comic book page, I could have enough time to look at everything that was happening. But from a film level, from a filmic level, there just wasn't enough time, and it just got too dang busy. We slow it down, like we slow the footage down when Kylo Ren and Rey start fighting the guard, and your eye just like, and the choreography is brilliant to where your eye is going back and forth across the frame while they're doing it, and there is so much. Like I feel like in some ways this movie was made for me. There's red everywhere. The choice in color contrast is really, really artistic and artful.
There's red here. We're talking to him right now.
Yeah, and red is my favorite color. I also like how the Justin Theroux cameo as the code breaker that they're trying to get. He is wearing a red thing on his lapel. Like, oh, he's a red herring. Get it? Nice. Good job there. So I think from a cinematography level, this is a very beautiful movie and doesn't really look like any other Star Wars movie, but also does look like a Star Wars movie. It's Empire Strikes Back in that way, where Empire has a very distinct visual look to it, and this one doesn't look like Empire. It looks like The Last Jedi, but Rian Johnson is doing some good stuff there. I like the use of color palette when we do use a more saturated, and when we do use less saturation. It's all very well thought out from a visual level. That's all I got to say about
Star Wars made by the Artur, and that's when it's at its best.
Okay, before we keep going, I just want to say we have said next to nothing about Leia's role in the movie, and I really think we should.
What's the moving sounds?
Oh, sorry. That might be my book. Oh, put it down. Is it gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Leia was fantastic.
Oh, man, I was so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually one latest thing I want to talk about, which kind of controversial. Is when she...
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up.
The space scene. I loved that. I get why people don't like it. I loved it.
I
loved it.
Don't have a problem with it. I'm just like, how'd you do that, Leia? Are you Jedi training behind everybody's back when no one's looking? Can
I say one thing, Dad, from what Joel's saying?
Sure.
I think the only issue I kind of have with it is it's set up here, and while I love it, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to get that answer in the next movie. We might.
You don't need an answer. There's been 30 years. She already had a lot of inherent strength in the Force. She's the freaking daughter of Vader. I don't think it needs any explanation whatsoever.
True.
Okay, I can. I think that you saying that makes more sense to me. Yeah, that's fine. I love Leia. She got so much to do in this movie, and it's like, if they didn't change anything in this movie, which they say they didn't, then that's some sad, beautiful irony. Just everything that happened.
But we knew about the coma thing way before Carrie passed.
No, not about the coma thing. Just how the movie kind of near the third act, where Luke and Leia are together, and it's like their final goodbye, and then, and that transitions to, since I feel like we're running out of things to say. Let's talk about some of these last final shots.
Wait, there's one thing that I want to bring up that I haven't heard y'all talk about, so I want to bring it up. How do we all feel about Rey?
We already talked about Rey for like 30 minutes.
Oh,
right, that's true.
You guys want to get to the would-be but not really fight between Luke and Kylo?
It's one of the best action scenes. Yeah.
I feel like
that. Yes, that is the fucking best. And I love, and somebody pointed this out, and this is my Luke Skywalker. He gets everyone out of there, and he doesn't cause a single casualty.
Yeah.
On either side. And that is such a Luke Skywalker thing.
Oh yeah, that's why I said
that's such a Jedi thing.
Indeed. That's why I said in the beginning, like,
and like just the best line be that like everything you just said is wrong, and like fucking the trick he pulls on him, and just all of that, and playing on Kylo being angry. Just that strike me down, I'll never leave you alone.
I love that part.
And the fact
Yeah.
and I love how
See
he's
around.
old enough to understand that he can't
I
necessarily
seriously
bring
thought he
him
was
back.
going to say, "Strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine."
I mean, that's what they were trying to trick you into thinking. And just that moment though, when Ben's just like, "Did you come here to save me?" And Luke's just like, "No," like he knows he's too far gone, but he's still a master, and he's still teaching him a lesson, and I love that.
I like the line "See you around, kid." That was
Oh.
great.
It's so
Yeah, it was so
good.
good.
Oh, definitely. And boy, that's what I mean when I say, yeah, not your Luke Skywalker, but by the end, it does become the Luke Skywalker you know and love.
It is funny that we kind of get a Luke Skywalker who becomes Cade Skywalker from Legacy. Except Luke isn't on drugs.
As far as we know, I don't know.
Oh, also, we forgot to mention something about Act 2. Act 2.
Oh, what?
The
What?
lesbian space nuns.
Oh yeah, the space nuns.
They were
Caretaker.
hysterical.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Just Ray Knox. My favorite thing is Ray Knox like destroying their carts and just extinguishes the blade as if that will hide what happens. That's such a human moment, and I love it.
Definitely. Okay, now since I feel like we are running out of things to say, and we've been going for 2 hours.
Kid with the broom, loved it. Cool thing.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I loved
I
it
think it
too.
works great for the themes and ideas of the movie.
I got a story for this one actually. I said it on Twitter, but I'm gonna say it here because I feel it's important. So I was like walking around my mall, waiting for my bus because I was waiting for hours, and people were passing by, and I saw this one little girl in I had to be a Last Jedi Rey costume. I think it was a Last Jedi Rey costume, and she was holding a big pillow pork. One of those comfy ones that you want to snuggle with. And just watching that is like, that's what these trilogies and these movies are all about. I mean, yes, we can criticize them. Yes, we should. You're always good to criticize, critique. But at the end of the day, these are who these are for. And I'm not saying, don't be smart, don't be dumb, but this is these are the most important people watching these films, these little kids, and
And that's the thing people always have to remember with Star Wars. Be it the
It's for coffee
prequels,
girls.
be it Rebels, be it this trilogy. There are people who enjoy it and don't take that away from them.
yeah, and if that little
Yeah.
girl's looking up to Rey and be like, I want to be like Rey, I want to be good, I want to be a Jedi, that just makes our dark, horrible world a little lighter, so that's why I
My
like.
only thing, so I love the scene with the broom kid.
Mhm.
My only thing is, it's a little annoying that this kid who's supposed to represent the entire Star Wars fandom is a white guy. I know that's nitpicky. I don't know. I kind of wish there was diversity there.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know. It's not necessarily it kind of is still on some level problematic to me. Just because you're doing a character that's specifically an audience fill-in, and he's only there for like one scene earlier, maybe 2 scenes earlier, and then that end scene. It would have been super meaningful to make that like a minority.
Yeah, I could see that. But thematically, I like it. I guess, even though we talked a lot about this off camera, should we talk a little bit of what comes next?
Well, hold on. What was it? I had another note.
Okay, just everybody get the last minute notes.
We should do another predictions video and be completely wrong again.
Great. Damn. What was I thinking about? There's something else.
I'm trying to think of what we missed, if there's anything we missed.
I have a question actually.
Sure.
Sure.
Do you think,
Mhm.
do you think, given how experimental and risky this movie was, do you think J.J. Abrams is going to feel pressured to try and live up to that with Episode 9?
He's already.
No, I think I'll just play it safe as always, which is fine.
I don't know. I think given like all the stuff they do, like there's no
Here's the
way
thing, people
no
gave
way
this film a
covers
lot
that.
of shit for being risky. I don't know if he's going to be super okay with being really risky.
That's what Ryan Johnson's trilogy's for anyway, so.
Well, Rian Johnson has been getting a lot of praise for the decisions he's made. I mean, yeah, there's the internet douchebags as usual, but
The thing is, even beyond the douchebags, there is a lot of people who are upset about it. I'm not saying that makes their criticisms okay, but Abrams is the kind of person who pays a lot of attention to that kind of thing. I don't think he's going to try and upstage Ryan in terms of...
I'm not saying upstage. I'm just saying
I don't think he's
try
going to be trying to be more experimental. If he is, it's not in response to this. It's in response to criticisms of TFA. I don't think this is really going to... Especially because, keep in mind, he turned in his script for 9, he probably saw the final product of 8
He read the
previously,
script
but like,
earlier.
he didn't see necessarily the entire artistic piece, like in its final form. He probably did when finalizing, but like, I think that's going to be his own thing. I don't think this is really heavily going to affect Abrams at all.
And,
Well, the events themselves, but I don't think he's going to be like, oh, he took massive risks, I should also take massive risks.
yeah, I don't see Abrams doing like Ryan Johnson messed up my characters. I'm gonna completely go everything against it. No, I think the character wise is gonna be natural progression.
Well, I think that's talking more about just risks in general.
Yeah.
And again, there might be, but again, I think it's just going to be. I think it's more going to be in response to DFA than anything.
No Starkiller Base 2 unless Kylo is that big of a moron. Which he
Well,
probably
we
is.
have the Mega Star Destroyer.
That too. There's your throne room scene. Ray's like,
Oh, my thing was, I love the fact that we get to see Mon Calamari's shields at their finest. I love that, because the Radis is taking all those hits. It's just really cool to see the shields, because we always forget that the shields aren't necessarily like the physical part of the ship itself. It can be expanded from it a bit. That's just cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we should start probably wrapping up. Any last things, predictions for 9, wants or hopes for 9?
I thought the Leia to echo what my brother said, I found the Leia Superman scene to be really stupid, serve no story purpose, and no matter how awesome the rest of the movie is, nothing will never make that not stupid. So.
But you'll believe a senator can fly.
I'm a senator. Great movie. I don't really need episode 9 right now. I feel perfectly satisfied and content.
I still think they should change the release of Solo, because I still think people are going to be talking about this movie come May of next year.
I don't think the problem is people talking about it. I think it's just, like Connor said at the beginning, oversaturation more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't want a Star Wars film every year. We have so many great books and comics and stuff. I can hold myself over.
If the movies themselves are different enough, I personally don't have a problem with it. My problem
matter of it
is
feeling like
I
less
think
of an
they should
event.
be more spaced out.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. That it feels like less of an event.
Yeah.
Deadpoolzilla,
I mean, this movie still feels like an event.
Yeah, it's just it's not as impactful every time if we keep getting one of these every single year, and the hype train immediately, like Connor was saying, one hype train replaces another. The Han Solo film is going to start marketing almost immediately after.
That's gonna be fun.
I gotta say though, I am shocked. We are approaching the 5-month mark away from this movie. We don't even have like.
Oh my! 5 months? Holy shit!
5 months?
What the
It comes out May 25th.
Are you kidding me?
This is. I cannot
we don't even
wait for our.
I still think they're going to change that release date.
Because I think that's going to be something. I think that's going to be beautiful. That's going to be magic.
Like we don't even have like a publicity photo of Alden Ehrenreich as.
This is such a mess.
Man,
the only official picture we have is Solo: A Star Wars Story, May 25th. It's not even in front of stars. It's just on black.
I can just feel Lucasfilm like, yeah, we know this movie's a bad idea at this point. We just want to get it over with.
Oh,
It's
man,
like
I didn't realize it was in that more shit than it was.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess my final thoughts are, I'm kind of hoping for Knights of Ren, and that's all I'm really gonna say because I've been falling in and out of sleep towards the end of this.
Trust me, I feel the same way. Cole, how you final thoughts?
Go see this movie.
All right,
My God.
Red, did you give final thoughts?
I loved it. Fuck the Grey Jedi. Fuck Reylo. Still contemplating on Snoke. I want EU stuff between these two films because it's really exciting that we're getting a full-scale war between them. Just a lot of excitement for the franchise moving forward because of this. In fact, it's kind of sad thinking, like with 7 to 8, we didn't get any like stories with Finn. We didn't get any stories with Rey. I don't want to go through that again because I really like these characters more and more, and I want to live with them outside of the films a bit.
I want to see that, and I want to see other writers get their hands. Like, I want to see what people can do. Like, I want to see Claudia Gray's hands on Kylo and maybe Beth Reeves do Rey, or I don't know, whoever does
Rucka
it.
was amazing with all of them when he wrote just a short story for each.
Yeah, I want to see
Like that kind of thing was great.
Like, I want to see the different authors' takes on these characters, get their little viewpoints. Yeah, I agree with that. I want to see. Can't wait to see where the future holds for Star Wars. And don't screw this up, JJ, or and Ontario, Ian Kennedy, and everybody at the story group. You can do this. We hope this. Come on, you can do this. We have to do this. So yes. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you guys for joining me. And may the force be with you always.